So with that, next slide, please. So I think tonight we're really seeking feedback from the council on next steps regarding the police facility. Next slide. Not going to go through all of those. The most key one that I would mention is in May of 2025, after alternatives analysis and needs assessment, et cetera. We had a ballot, 34-343, and it was not successful. It was a 47.75 to no 52.25. Next slide. So the results of the county elections, this is just to kind of inform the conversation that the council may have afterwards, is both of those levies were approved. They were replacement levies. They both approved approximately 57 to 43%. Just to kind of provide some context about the election cycles coming up for the city, is normally we ballot the local option levy 3 cycles ahead of when it expires. It expires in it expires in June 30th of 2028. So normally we would ballot for the local option levy in May of 2027. That would leave 2 election cycles in November and then the following May if it was not successful. That really leaves kind of 2 election cycles prior to the city levy. That's May of 2026 of next year and then November of next year. Another consideration, and we do have a timeline, and we can go over that as well, but there was some money that was put into the budget for polling, approximately $25,000. Typically, you want to try and do a poll as close to the election as you can. Sometimes you may want to do successive polls, so you may want to do a poll to see when you may want to put it on the ballot, and then depending on when you make that decision, you may want to do another poll to see what it is closer to the election. For example, for both the public safety and the library levies that were recently passed by the county, each of those were polled a minimum of twice for both of those local option levies. Next slide. So if you look at potential timelines, part of the reason we're having this conversation tonight is if you look at either May or November of next year, and if you assume that it takes approximately 8 weeks to do polling, and that really kind of puts us to tonight if you want to look at potentially the May election. If you want to look at the November election of next year, then that puts the timeline out a little bit further. Any questions about that timeline? Okay. So is Jeff Humphreys available? If he's not, I think the chief and I know the improvements well enough, we might be able to go through them. If you can maybe bring up McKinsey's presentation. By way of background, McKinsey is our architect. They've been the architect on this project from day one. One of the things that I would mention prior to getting into this is this really is a conversation about what we call value engineering. Value engineering is a way to try and see if you can reduce the resource requirement for the project you have without reducing the functionality of the facility that you have. Next slide, please. So this is the draft concept for the police station. Next slide. I don't know that we need to go through all of these particular areas. None of these areas have changed since the last time that the council looked at this and since the last time that the cost evaluation was made for the May ballot. So I don't know that we need to go into that. Henry, did you want to mention anything about, or Chief, excuse me? Right. I would mention that the outside envelope of the building has reduced in square footage through the alternatives analysis, through the needs assessment, and then through the concept and all the way up to 35% design. The facility envelope has been reduced from 27,000 to approximately 22,000, or 21,500, which is the same envelope that was balloted in the May election. Square feet. Next slide. So again, this is just looking at the same building that we had before, really no changes to it. The building design life was really geared toward a 40-year building, and so assuming when the construction date, so if it gets constructed, say, in 2026 or 2028, you can add 40 years to that. We are currently at, is it 48 years for the existing facility? Yeah, almost 50 years in our existing facility. Our existing facility, by way of comparison, is about 12,500 square feet. This new facility would be approximately 21,500 square feet. Next slide. That's just a rendering of what the outside would look like. Next slide. And that would be the east side of the building. That should be Birch Street going north-south. Correct? That's just a different kind of coloring and look. So this one, is there any way to zoom that slide?
I was going to say, can you read that for all of us who
That's really small.
don't have to?
So the main part to kind of focus on, okay. And
Say, what do you want us to get out of that slide?
there's two things that I want to, if he's still not available, that's fine. We got this. There's a couple things to take away from this slide. If you could scroll to the previous slide, I apologize. The previous slide, if you wouldn't mind. There you go. So the overall cost of the project, when we balloted for 500,000. Staff and the architect, after the ballot was not successful, we went through a pretty extensive value engineering process, and that value engineering process was designed to reduce the cost of the facility, especially in light of some of the recent inflationary pressures, which would push the cost upwards should the council want to ballot it in the near future. And so part of staff's goal was just to look at this and see if there was anything from a value perspective that we may be able to take out of the building and reduce the cost, and try to, in essence, kind of make up for some of those inflationary pressures that we were seeing to the cost. So the total project cost, if you look at it, was $31 million. I want to focus on the next slide, which is the total construction costs. And this is really where the value engineering kind of comes into play. So when you look at just the construction costs, it's approximately $23 million. All the other costs are your design costs, your contingency costs, et cetera. If you go to the next slide, please. So we had some concerns during the ballot measure about the cost per square foot. And one of the questions was, why was the cost per square foot? I believe it was in excess of $1,000. And so we just wanted to provide some comparisons for the council and for the community about what it does look like and what some recent projects that have come in and what their potential costs are. If you look at all these ones from left to right, it's anywhere from $885 all the way up to $1,084. Currently, the Forest Grove Police Station is coming in pretty much in the median, which is approximately $980 per square foot, and that's assuming a 21,845 square foot building. Next slide, please. So if you could back up, I must have missed something. I wish Jeff was here. Yeah, one more, please. No, one forward. No, go back to the cost. Sorry. There we go. Next slide. Okay. So if you look at the bottom portion of this slide, those were some of the value engineering things that staff was proposing for the council. Part of the consensus that we wanted to see if the council would reach tonight was whether to accept these value engineering additions, I guess you could say, which would really be subtractions in the cost. And if the council was okay with that, the next conversation would be potentially timing of when to do a poll to potentially inform when another ballot may be. So to go through these really quick, and Chief Ryman, please add anything here as we go through these. But really, if you look at the alternates 1 through 6, those are really the alternates that we looked at to try and reduce the cost of the project. So the metal decking is a level of finish that was present on the inside of the facility. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was on some of the corridor walls as well as on the roof, and this would replace that with a different type of finish, a lower cost finish. From a look and feel perspective, it would have very similar to the same look and feel. It's just a different type of material than was previously proposed. The library parking lot update, that's, in terms of looking at that, that's actually a project add. That's $139,000. What we're finding with the parking lot is some of the stormwater requirements have increased, and so we're looking at some additional costs in that area. But if you look at the next three, it's really the exterior facade. we were looking at some different changes. Chief, you may want to help me out on this one, but it was going from more of a, if I recall correctly, not a, stucco was not the right word, but a different panel on the outside. And the panel was a pretty heavy panel, and that panel required some additional support. We would be going to a lighter panel. The look, feel, and finish would remain very similar to what it is now, just a different type of panel. Did you want to add anything, Chief?
No, I think you're right. Handling, including the changes really the need for looking at a couple things.
The next two are pretty self-explanatory. The bullet-resistant glazing was a conversation that we had at length. What we're really looking at there is previously the windows were full-length bullet glazing, and this would actually bring some of the windows down from a perspective that if there was a shooter-type incident, the angle of the bullet, if it did end up going through the glass, would not be able to impact anybody. It would simply go into the roof. So in other words, the window, the bullet glazing comes down some, but the angle would be sufficient or such that it would not impact the safety of the officers.
Yeah, so what we did is we do the whole or
Chief, is your microphone on? Okay, let's make sure it's on, because for the people streaming it at home, just flip the switch. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. You want me to repeat
No,
that?
that's fine.
And then the last one was just secure parking fencing. There was a reduction change in the fencing type, and it saved approximately $150,000. So if you would, Mariah, could you please go to the last slide again? So I guess what staff was looking for from council was, one, if there's a consensus to accept the value engineering improvements that staff is proposing. I think we believe it doesn't affect the functionality of the building in any way. It will have minimal cosmetic impacts, and it will have, at least in our estimation, no impacts on the longevity of the building. It's just a different type of finish.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
How long is this quote good for?
There is a contingency factor that's built into it. I think a lot of it is going to depend on economic conditions, of course, and when we would go to bid, but I do believe there's a contingency factor in this that may, I'm trying to remember what Jeff said, if it was going to be good for 12 months, I think it was good for 6 to 12
I
months.
thought it was a little higher than that, but I think the construction time was in 2027.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me just put it this way.
That's good.
Is this quote going to be the same quote in November of 2026?
Yes, it should be.
Okay,
Yes,
so
'cause it assumes
regardless
it
if we go May or November,
Yeah.
it's the same quote.
Yeah, because it assumes the same construction start time, and the estimates are based on the construction start time, not the ballot time.
Thank you.
Next slide, Mariah, if you would, please.
Any other questions? Are you guys done or no? Do you have more?
Staff report is done. I think what we were looking for was a consensus on the improvements, and then also a conversation about when to potentially do some polling that could inform potentially a ballot.
Okay, so let's talk about the recommendations for the reduction in cost. Well, first of all, are there any questions for staff? Counselor Gustafson.
I just have one, and we might have talked about this, there we go, at previous meetings, but is there a way to build a new facility that isn't as expansive and use the current facility to accommodate some of the things that would be in one entire building and make sure that the facility that is built is expandable? Just throwing that out there, I'm not sure if that would be even feasible or more economic.
Do you want me to answer that, Jesse? So when we did our initial analysis, the cost to upgrade our building or add on to the current building was equal to the cost of a brand new building, just because that much infrastructure needed to be done. In regards to expanding the new building, we would probably be able to expand the second floor by about 1,500 square feet, if not more.
So what I'm saying is, and what maybe you're saying, I want to make sure we're saying the same thing. Would it cost more or not work out if we were to build the new facility smaller for now and be able to expand that later when we have more funds and just utilize the current building for some of the space that we would need in a full-size new building?
So this might be a Jeff question, but my understanding is the footprint has to be the footprint. So we couldn't shorten the footprint and go up 2 stories, because then we start running into infrastructure problems in regarding to expanding the base footprint. So we can go up, expand up, versus trying to build a shorter platform and then expanding that entire section.
So and just to review, like years and years ago when council was initially looking at our options, building like an annex, like that was an option to like renovate the current station and get it up to code, and then having an annex, and it was just as costly, if not more, to do that. I think that, and that's why the direction was for a new building completely. Because I think that's what you're saying, like an annex or smaller.
No, I'm talking about building a new building. But for instance, just for an example, we build a new building without a second floor. And whatever things, spaces that you could put in the current building as it is now, and spend less on the new building until we have additional funds. 2 things, I don't know if it's even possible. And the other thing is it going to save us any money, right?
Yeah. Councillor
I'm throwing it
Falconer.
out there because I feel it's responsible to ask the question.
Okay. Councillor Falconer.
A couple thoughts about that. I'm wondering, it's not going to become less expensive to build. So I think we're just sort of borrowing a more expensive problem down the line. It also doesn't give us the benefit of being able to surplus the existing building. And I understand we could either sell it and this may be getting a little bit down the road and ahead of this conversation. But I'm wondering if, some of the concern that I heard from voters is, why are we doing this? And I think that the current building could actually prompt a bigger conversation about, well, here's what the possibilities are with the existing space if it's not housing the police station. So I think kind of twofold, my reaction to that is, we can't really even assume that we can afford to expand the new building that we build, because it might end up costing us more, because I think adding a second floor is probably more expensive, even in just not even talking about inflation in future dollars, but also just more expensive to add on to a building that way versus building it that way from the beginning. And then also foreclosing a conversation with the community about, possibilities for the existing building.
Right, any other questions? So can we just go around the table, and if there's consensus to accept the recommendations from staff with the new cost, do a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a nod of the head? So I'm seeing consensus for the cost amount. And then the next question is, when do we want to do polling? But I think before we answer when we want to do polling is when do we want to put this on the ballot again? And before I open it up to discussion, I think, into response to the discussion I've heard from community members and the council, the polling is important, but I also think one of the things missing from the last was a PAC, like a political action group that was doing the education about the old building, about what was going on. And so I'm going to take the opportunity of people being in the audience now, and if you support the police station and you're interested in working on that, that's something that was lacking and a way you can engage with this process as well. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to the timeline of polling, and then when do we want to put it on the ballot? Councillor Falconer.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
I just don't know what the poll would sort of look like. I'm curious to know what are sort of the kind of the themes of the question. Would we be using it to learn more about maybe why people didn't want to vote for it? Is that the primary?
Yeah, great question. Counselor Falconer, the polling would be kind of twofold. It would be to find out some of the themes as to why it didn't pass. And then it would be to, talk about the project itself and find out kind of what messages have a strong resonance, which ones don't. And then ultimately kind of get a feel for whether it would be successful or whether it wouldn't be. Normally, when we've done polls in the past, we've had the pollster kind of, prior to going out and doing the poll, actually come up with some kind of draft questions and draft themes, and we've had a work session with council about that prior to going out and doing the poll to make sure that if there was anything that the council would like to have included in that process, we could include it in that process. But part of it will be, yes, trying to seek some feedback as to why it may not have been successful in the first place.
Counselor Schimmel, and then for you.
I think I heard you mention 2 polls. When's the second poll for each of those options?
That's really up to the council if the council wants to do 2. I was simply saying the county did 2. In one particular case, they polled both. That helped them establish the timing of when they wanted to go to ballot, and then they did another poll closer to the ballot to inform some of the educational materials that were associated with the ballot measure.
Do you have budget for 2 polls, or would you need to come back?
Can you talk in the microphone more?
We do not. We have budget for 1 poll. Typically, a second poll is not as much as the first one because it's going, in some cases, kind of, it's a smaller audience. So typically, a poll will run about $25,000. Typically, kind of a second poll is a smaller, more acute audience, and it's typically about half to 3/4 of the price.
Just on a side note, so the public safety that is most likely going to pass with Washington County,
Yeah.
do we know what the percentage was from the voters in Forest Grove for that?
They don't have the
know if
precinct
there was a-
results yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we checked.
I would just like to see that, to see where we kind of line up with the fact that we're kind of similar to that, but different.
The precinct results won't be published until, their estimate is after December 10th. The county's estimate is after December 10th. When the final results are posted is when the precinct results get posted as well.
Does anyone have an idea when they would like to see this on the ballot or the polling? Anyone want to throw out an idea?
Well,
Go ahead, Counselor Schimmel.
I'd suggest doing the polling now to give us an indication of timing, and then as we approach the budget process or add more money later, to do a second poll closer to the election or closer to May, to pull the trigger and let us know, how far in advance we need to do that. That'd be my suggestion.
Anyone else? I agree with Counselor Schimmel about doing a polling now, but I'm not 100. I mean, I think it's up to discussion if we do a second one. I think if we do the first one and make sure we understand what, like the trends, the themes, and the timeline, then I think we can get what we need out of that. I mean, we can always discuss it later, but I don't want to come to consensus about 2 polls right now. And I'm seeing head nods about that as well. Are we okay doing the first poll now? Okay.
Okay, great.
Do you need anything else from us? Chief? No? Okay, I'm going to adjourn this work session at 5:54. And do I have consensus to start the other? Okay. Excuse me, I would like to call this work session to order. If I could have it quiet in the audience, that'd be great. Thank you. So this work session is titled Inclusive Community and Federal Immigration Update. No public comment will be taken, and the council will take no formal action. Before I turn it over to staff, I just want to share with the council and the community the proposed agenda, because we have about 1 hour before our council meeting begins. So I would like staff's presentation to be around 10 minutes. I would like to give the council 7 minutes to offer feedback on the how to identify a Forest Grove police officer brochure that's going to go out or potentially go out. And then after that, I would like to provide time for individual council and the council as a whole to brainstorm. And I will facilitate that using the whiteboard potential action items they would like to see happen. And then we will end with our consensus and next steps. Okay, sound good? So in attendance is our full city council. At the table, City Manager Jesse Vanderzanden, Police Chief Henry Ryman, and there's a number of community members in the audience. So with that, I will turn it over to Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Mariah, if you would go. I'd like to also introduce Jody Gallahan. Jody is with Barry Elsner and Hammond. She is the city attorney, one of the city attorneys for the city of Forest Grove, working for Barry Elsner and Hammond. Next slide, please. Part of the slides are going to be mine, part will be Chief Ryman, and then part will be the city attorney. This is self-explanatory. We save community for our values, connected and inclusive spaces. We want inclusive and accessible spaces for people to gather and connect. Next slide. So recently we have seen a pretty significant increase in ICE activity in Forest Grove and neighboring communities. And this has led really nonprofits and governmental agencies to discuss a coordinated approach. The purpose of tonight's work session is to brief the council on current ICE activities, impacts, some responses, and then, of course, have the council discuss potential responses. Next slide. Currently, the city of Forest Grove is an inclusive community that was passed by a resolution in 2017. Next slide.
So Oregon is a sanctuary state since 1987. The sanctuary state law prohibits state and local law enforcement and government from enforcing federal immigration laws under the state law, which includes the city not to enforce federal immigration law. The city may not collect information on the immigration status of community members. The city may not utilize staff time or other resources for immigration enforcement, including investigating, detecting, apprehending, arresting, detaining, or holding individuals. Next slide. So regardless of Oregon's status as a sanctuary state, federal officers are permitted to engage in enforcement activities. Staff recently went through training about what to do if ICE officers enter public facilities or public areas within the city. The main points of the training include ICE may enter public areas. ICE may not enter private areas unless they have a judicial warrant. To notify their supervisor immediately. They should not assist ICE. The city does not use, as a side note, does not use electronic license plate readers, or are we a subscriber to the Flock data system. We should not also interfere with ICE agents. We should not harbor or conceal anyone. And we need to document the interaction between the ICE officers and the individual. So a part of our communication plan was to revamp our webpage. We did a blitz with social media. The mayor and myself did a PSA, as well as Council President of Venezuela, to do it in Spanish. And that's kind of an overview of the webpage. And again, depending on this evening, is we also have our next posting, how to identify a Forest Grove police officer. Next slide.
So some other municipal efforts which are ongoing is Washington County declared a state of emergency on November 4th, and they appropriated $200,000 in emergency assistance to address community impacts related to federal immigration. The city of Hillsborough held a work session on the same day. They did talk about and are considering $200,000 in emergency assistance distributed through local community-based organizations. They're going to have another work session at their next city council meeting. The city of Portland essentially codified their sanctuary city designation on 10/15. So what was administratively done by resolution is now actually codified into their code. And I just found out today the city of Cornelius is also looking at having a work session next Monday. And it'll be on the same topic that we're talking about tonight. Next slide. So nonprofit efforts, this is generally simplified and probably oversimplified. But Centro Cultural and Adelante Mujeres, they are providing rapid response to the scene. We're also doing wraparound services post-scene. Oregon for All and Portland Immigration Rights Coalition, or what's known as PERC, are providing training on ICE interactions, and they're also providing access to services for the detainee and also for the family. And then the Innovation Law Lab and ACLU are providing legal services for those that are impacted by either detention and or the family. A little bit about an emergency declaration process. It's declared by the resolution. It is a city council action. Essentially, it allows for the temporary suspension of procurement rules and guidelines so that you can have an expedited procurement process or assistance process. So what normally would take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, you could do in a couple of days. It raises public awareness. It should be reviewed by the city attorney regarding possible liabilities that may be contained in the resolution. And it should describe the type of assistance, the resources to respond, and generally it will have a time frame associated with it as well. The section 1.7.2, that's directly out of our existing emergency operations plan. Next slide. I'm going to pass it over to the city attorney, Jody.
Sure. So I am going to talk high level, and if you have a question, just interrupt me. Okay.
Hold on just
Was there a
minute.
question?
Jody, can you please speak up? We cannot hear you.
Okay.
That's better. Thank you.
That was better. Okay. Okay. The question, or my question really was, if you have any questions, interrupt me at any point. I'd rather you ask the question as we go than wait till the end. So are there any questions up front? Okay. And you can hear me okay now? I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay. What it means and what it doesn't mean to be a city and a sanctuary state. There's a lot of confusion going around about what exactly it is that the state law does to protect undocumented citizens or undocumented individuals in our community. The sanctuary law is really a law dedicated to public agencies and law enforcement, state and local government offices in the state of Oregon, requiring them to abide by certain restrictions on federal immigration enforcement efforts. In a nutshell, it's a prohibition on government agencies from participating directly or indirectly in ICE actions unless they have a judicial warrant. Now that sounds great, but it's not as strong as it purports to be. So, the city essentially does not enforce federal immigration law. We are not a federal immigration agency. The statute prohibits the city from collecting information on the immigration status of its community members. This is the big one. The city cannot utilize staff time or other resources for immigration enforcement. This includes investigating, detecting, apprehending, arresting, detaining, or holding individuals. So we're not allowed to assist ICE in those actions. And then the one that I think I'll probably get the most questions on is we're prohibited from granting access to ICE to a public facility not otherwise open to the public without a warrant. The city is also required to the law enforcement specifically is required to submit certain information that was documented whenever they get a communication or a request from a federal agency relating to immigration. They're required to report that to OGCGC using their reporting system that's established by rule. So that's all the things that the sanctuary statutes do. What they don't do is prohibit ICE from engaging in enforcement actions. There's a very, as we've already discussed, there's a very clear supremacy law jurisdictional thing happening when federal agents come in to enforce federal law. ICE agents have access to areas open to the public with or without a warrant or a subpoena. While they might request access to public facility areas that are not generally open to the public, they are required to have a judicial warrant under the law, and they are required to generally comply with facility rules. So that's sort of the crux of what government staff can and can't do in terms of ICE enforcement actions. Do we have questions on that yet?
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
None yet.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, Counselor Schimmel.
Well, I think that oftentimes we end up splitting hairs on those provisions when when ICE enforcement, the reality of ICE enforcement is exceeding that language. So the question or the expectation is that if our police require such a warrant, or they decide that they're gonna enter into a private area, or whether that's a public building, private business, or private residence. So how do we reconcile the that provision on the law, as well as not interfering with ICE agents?
Sure. So I can't tell individual private citizens what they can and can't do if someone knocks on their door and proclaims to be a federal agent. I don't have any ability to tell folks what to do because I don't have that. I not only don't have that authority, I don't have that knowledge. For government employees, because my perspective is about protecting the city and its employees, if they have a federal ICE agent attempting to gain access to a private area or an area not otherwise open to the public, and they do not have a warrant to gain access, my recommendation is to not intervene, not put yourself at risk, to not like there's layers of risk in you intervening in such an action, even though they may not have legal authority to gain access to an area. I don't want the employees to risk other things by trying to intervene in what is essentially a legal argument against their access. Does that make sense? It's me sort of beating around the bush saying document it, but don't interject yourself into the action from the ICE agent.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none.
Okay, so the city's limited scope of authority. This is the first two bullets are really basically talking about the same thing. It's the supremacy clause in in the United States. There's a doctrine, and I'm not going to go too into the legalese on this because I know I'll lose people and I don't want to bore people on this subject. But in a nutshell, there's case law that has essentially identified the supremacy clause of the Constitution as state criminal laws must give way to valid actions of federal officers acting pursuant to federal authority. And there's a whole case law tons of case law that further dive into that limitation on federal actions and what's considered valid and what's not, and what's actual federal authority and what's not. So there's legal arguments to be made when an ICE agent is acting beyond the scope of his granted authority. That's an argument that can be made by a lawyer in a courtroom. I don't recommend that city employees try to determine where that line is. To reiterate what I just said, I think the best course of action for the employees is to step back, not intervene, but document. And when I say document, I mean write it down. Because the defenses that are available, if there are any, they're ones that are really hard to make in the moment. They're more of an argument you'd make to a judge. So I don't want to, in the meantime, have an employee at risk of arrest, of some sort of civil action or otherwise, based on this idea that this ICE agent's acting beyond the scope of his authority. Questions on that one?
Counselor Schimmel.
So I know the answer to this, but we've heard a considerable amount of testimony in the county and Hillsborough and other municipalities about the fear, the terror, the physical abuse, the split families that our Latino community is living through. So the building aspect of it is sort of immaterial. It's really the human suffering aspect of it that we have to weigh our response, and we have to weigh what we are asking our police department to do. And I guess I want to hear from our attorney that the opinion you just shared stands regardless.
Yes. It's hard to defend. It's a hard thing to defend against if an employee intervenes in a federal enforcement action. And it's later determined that the actions taken by ICE were legitimate, fully authorized, and within the scope of the federal level of enforcement. I don't want to see an employee get dragged through criminal or civil trials without the assistance of city council because they chose to intervene on something that was ultimately a valid law enforcement action. And so that's what I mean when I say trying to figure out where the line is in the moment is a slippery slope. It's not a black and white line. And I unfortunately don't have a black and white answer for you in terms of how do I know if they're legitimate or not. It's not something that is knowable in the moment. And so in the interest of the employees, my advice will most certainly be to not intervene and document as much as you can. Okay, and that sort of lends itself to the third bullet, which is the city's duty to avoid creating liability for its employees. Putting a directive or a policy or a request to your employees that they intervene when they see something that they don't think is right, that is putting them at jeopardy of both criminal and civil liabilities. There's the issues of, I don't want to go too into all of the rhetoric that's going on out there from DHS, from the Department of Homeland Security about their definition of what a threat is and what constitutes harassment and violence. But in the interests of the employee, I wouldn't want to put them through having to defend themselves against an action filed by the federal government against them. So if the employee has to decide between doing a directive from doing what it was told to do by the direction of counsel or its boss or its supervisor, or risking some sort of civil or criminal liability, I don't think that that's fair to put them in that position. And I certainly, from a legal perspective, don't think that's wise.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last bullet we have is considerations about recording. So there is a First Amendment constitutional right to record law enforcement officers. It's pretty strong. It's pretty steady. Where that line gets fuzzy is when you are when the person doing the recording is seen as interfering with a federal investigation, or intervening in some sort of action from a legitimate federally authorized action from an ICE agent. I wouldn't recommend, my general recommendation is to not encourage recording. Obviously, you're going to have certain situations where, specific to law enforcement, body cam videos will be part of the process because that's just how it works. I wouldn't change anything about that. But I would not sort of set out a policy or what have you that actually says when you encounter an ICE agent, make sure you record. I wouldn't recommend that either. For the same reasons that I wouldn't recommend intervening. You're putting the employee at risk of having to choose between following a directive of the supervisor and personal civil and criminal liability at a federal level, warranted or not.
Jody, can I ask you a follow-up question on that?
Yeah, sure.
If a police officer is using a body-worn camera and it's per policy and witnesses abuse of power, something they feel is unconstitutional, is it legal for the city to have a record-keeping procedure or system to elevate or to document the abuse of power?
So there is I believe it's a website. I'm not familiar enough with how the Oregon, I think it's just DPSST maybe puts it on, but it's not a hotline, but it's a way to submit information. And I would assume that a body cam would include information of known instances of ICE enforcement. I don't know enough about the process of how that reporting happens. Perhaps Henry does.
But it's legal. It's legal, and it's not like you're not recommending the city to do that. I think that's what the clarification question I'm just looking for is.
So, Mayor.
Do I recommend?
Yeah.
So, Jody,
So here's where the line is. If you do submit it, there's a risk that you could be arguably impeding a federal investigation. If you don't submit it, you'd be technically in violation of the Oregon sanctuary law. It's not a easy answer. I personally don't see how submitting that to the state through their reporting system could be seen by a federal agent as somehow harassment or otherwise. But that's the risk, is you follow through with the report, federal agents might make a claim that you somehow intervened in their investigation and therefore were in violation of federal law. That being said, I think that risk it's a low risk because of all the things that one could do to intervene. I wouldn't think that a report after the fact to a state agency is really a good argument for the feds to be making, but it's one that they could and probably would make.
Okay, Chief, did you want to add?
yeah, I was going to say under ORS 181A681, we are obligatory under state statute is to record and report abusive incidents, even though ICE is not part of the state statute currently through Department of our Oregon Attorney General's office, that they're asking us to go ahead and record and report as directed under state statute at this point. And it's the old Oregon Department of Justice federal oversight has a form for anybody in the public to fill out, drop documents, and they are tracking for judicial purposes any abuses for ICE.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we're like running short on time, Jody. Is there any more questions for Jody, or is there anything else you need to cover on this slide?
I'm good. I can answer questions as needed.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to try to get us back on time a little bit. Can we go to the, while Mariah's getting the brochure, how to identify a Forest Grove police officer up, can we see just a show, is there a consensus from the council? The city of Hillsborough, and then most recently the city of Beaverton, put out information to their community of, this is what a Hillsborough police officer looks like, this is what we don't look like. It's like non-examples, examples. And so we put together a little rough draft, but we didn't want to move on it. And thank you, Chief Ryman. We didn't want to move forward with that without the consensus of council. So before we start seeing how we can revise this, is there consensus to move forward with this information? It's a brochure, sure. Okay, and I'm seeing consensus. So now, does anyone have any thoughts about this brochure? Councillor Falconer.
I would hope to see non-examples. So, you know, the kinds of things, or maybe for it to highlight, you know, here's what our police, here's what your local police will not do. Here's what they will not look like. And I think that should be, you know, it's responsive to, you know, a couple of concerns. ICE themselves not identifying themselves and covering their faces, but also the real reports of instances of people impersonating law enforcement. I think that would sort of be responsive to both of those things. Just to nitpick a little bit, but, you know, I find the first paragraph to be, I don't know who the audience is for that first paragraph. I find it not very helpful. I think the know your rights could easily be plopped into that section and be a lot more helpful to the audience that I think that this thing is actually trying to speak to. And then I think it just generally speaking, I think there's a whole lot of words on this, and we could do a lot more visually. I think pictures speak volumes. There's way too much text on this thing. And I think blowing up the pictures, making them much, much more prevalent is just really what it needs to be doing. And then that way, also, I don't know what the other side of this looks like, but rather than having a split Spanish and English, maybe just put the same thing on the back. So one side is English, one side is Spanish. That's most of my feedback.
Okay, go ahead, Jesse wants to respond.
There were actually two different versions that we could do. One was exactly what you were mentioning, Councilor Falconer, which is just a one card with front and back. The other one was a trifold brochure that did have more information, some additional information about Sanctuary City, what local police cannot do to comply with the sanctuary state. So, but yeah, great suggestions. Yeah.
I have and just to add on, or not to pile on, but to add on, I think that it is much too wordy. And so bullet points and more pictures, but then just add a QR code to the Know Your Rights, add a QR code to our website for resources, or for All for Oregon, or for Echo, and, Law Lab. Those are the things that if people want additional, the goal of this is to be this is how you know the difference. This is who we are, and this is who we are not. Right. And go ahead, Councilor Falconer.
Yeah, and I think also, and then if you do think your rights are being violated, what then?
Yeah,
what can you do? So part of know your rights, but also if you need our help, we're here to support everyone in our community. Maybe the non-emergency number for folks to call and say, hey, I have this concern. This happened to my neighbor.
Are there any other suggestions that you would like to see added to the brochure or change? I'm going to put Council President Valenzuela on the spot a little bit. I would like to go to the board and write down the ideas that councilors have, and I would like you to facilitate calling on councilors when their hands are raised to give me. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to move on to potential action items. And we'll list all my idea, and you guys can pipe in if you think, but let's go through and get all of our potential action items. And then we'll go through and we can ask the city attorney if it's okay with Jody, if it's a legal action. And if it's legal, it will move on to the next stage, which would be consensus, and then our next steps. Does that sound like a good way to kind of organize this? Okay. I'm going to grab my...
Yes, Mayor, if I may take just a couple of minutes, please. The most hopeful comment that I've heard this evening came from Chief, knowing that they can actually record an incident, archive it, and submit it. But I am appalled at how much has been taken in terms of freedoms, in terms of humanity, basic humanity to one another. And I also want to say thank you to the community members that took the time to send an email. Indivisible, Forest Grove sent a lengthy email with 4 suggestions. And I was hoping to be able to read and bring up as ideas this evening. But after listening to the city attorney, it seems like we're walking on eggshells, that there's really nothing we can do. You know, after 9/11, we would see on TV members of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, with their faces covered. And now we have people on our streets with their faces covered. And they're taking whoever looks Latino. I carry my passport everywhere with me. And I've been a citizen for almost 40 years. And yes, I came here to this country legally. Now we can write a lot of ideas and provide, maybe support, some kind of support like the city of Hillsborough is doing, like the county is doing. How do we mend the heart and emotion well-being of a child that got home and his parents were gone? What do we do about that, my friends, amigos? What do we do about that? I'm just really disappointed that we have such limited capacity to help, although this is the United States of America. And the lack of humanity on social media, when there is a report of someone ICE taking people, go get them, boys. What is that? Where did that come from? Where is all that hate? Because I certainly didn't see people running to the farm fields to work on the harvest this summer to get back the jobs that have been stolen. I didn't see anyone running out there at 5 a.m. to work on the fields. So I apologize. I am just incredibly disheartened, sad, upset that there's not a lot we can do to help our community except document, because someday they will be accountable. Someday we're going to get our country back and they will be accountable.
Okay, wait. Sorry. Thank you, Council President Valenzuela. I'm going to ask, we're going to have public comment later. We have a lot. We want to be heard. I understand you want to appreciate the words, but I think snapping is fine. It allows us to still hear and allows us to move on. So I saw that Councilor Schimmel raised his hand to speak next, so I'm going to call on him.
Well, I wanted to allow for the moment for Mariana to finish, but if we're ready to identify some actions, one action I'd like to propose is an emergency declaration for the purpose of, or as an instrument for accelerating the help that we can provide. So this would be releasing our public contracting and budgetary processes so that Jesse and staff had the means to release funds. had to enter into mutual aid agreements and redirect some of our emergency funds or our contingency funds. Yes, it would be. So I guess as a group, we can decide how much of our contingency fund to lend. Say, I would start at the bidding at 100,000, and okay, sure. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of details under that. I mean, there's the how much, there's the where does it go toward, what's eligible. I guess I guess this could be under that too, is fast tracking some of our CEP payouts to like St. Vincent de Paul, food backpacks, other things that are specific to the emergency.
Who wants to go next? Councilor Gus.
Hello, council and community. So I'm gathering my thoughts. Our police officers need to be in safe situations also. And I am not asking for our officers, our law enforcement, to do anything above and beyond what they would do if, for instance, they were witnessing one of our community members be assaulted by a fellow community member. I also expect those officers to intervene when an officer is doing something illegal within the actions of their duties. And I'd like to remind everybody that if officers had intervened when George Floyd was being beaten and murdered by officers, he may very well be alive today. And that is what I am asking for, and that's what I'm requesting to be put on that action item, is that we reinforce the officer's authority to arrest federal agents if they are breaking the law in any way. The Constitution demands it. It is well within our rights, and I realize that that may put our officers at risk, but it also puts our officers at risk when they're needing to intervene between another officer. So I strongly recommend this. There are, just for notification of council, there are several councilors and mayors in the cities in Oregon that are gathering together to discuss exactly what we're discussing now. What are some ideas of what we can do? So we as cities in Oregon can move forward together and be a little bit more powerful, right? Like many sticks together are stronger than one stick. In addition to that, there's DA offices. The RDA, DA Barton, is in conversations with other district attorneys' offices for the exact same thing. So it's very wonderful to hear that those two groups. I have a meeting with him this Wednesday. So between those two groups, deciding what they can do in kind of their bailiwick, I think will really help drive getting even more ideas on here. But again, I strongly believe that we need to take action. All of this other stuff that we're doing is correct, and I'm glad, and we should continue it. But we cannot just document. We must take action.
Sure. I'd like to explore a resolution, actually, and then also codifying the city's sanctuary city status. I think it should include language specifically about public and private spaces. I think that would go a long way in addressing some of the things that you're talking about, and also in communicating to our community.
Okay, I'm going to go next. Thanks. Sorry, Council President. Yeah, me. Okay, I would like to replace, and I'll write these up on the board. I would like to replace Resolution 201721, which is our inclusive community resolution, and replace it with a Sanctuary City resolution that will give us alignment with our other regional partners and has the same wording. I would like to enter into a state of emergency to respond to the federal immigration activities. And I have an amount, but we can talk about it later. I would like to create a Protect Forest Grove initiative ordinance that codifies Sanctuary City status, requires training of staff, establishes reporting and signage of clarifying public and private spaces, mandates reporting violations and exceptions by city staff, creates a record-keeping procedure documenting abuse of power and reporting process to state legislatures, federal delegation, and the Attorney General. I would also like the council to join me in writing a letter to the Washington County Board of Commissioners to suspend and/or cancel the contract with Flock. That's a company who does license plate reader. And I would like the council to give authority to myself and the city manager to work with other regional municipalities, service organization, community-based community-based organizations to continue to do the work we are trying to do. So that's and I'll write them up.
While she's doing that, I'd like ask a question. And Chief, you would probably be the one to answer this. How is the current environment different or the same as it was through Clinton and Obama when we were going through the same things?
I can't remember that far. No, I think what we're seeing is a different attitude in regards to the process that the federal agencies are using, because it's more than ICE. There's 3 other agencies that partner with ICE. That the relationship has changed greatly over the years. We don't get notified very often when they are in town. I think we've gotten 2 calls, but again, it wasn't so much that, hey, we're in Forest Grove, that, hey, we're in Washington County today. And I think that's happened twice last week, and the other times we had no notification. So again, the way they're doing business is a little bit different than historically what we've seen.
Thank you.
If I can chime in on that question.
Councilor Marshall, 1 minute, please. Councilor Marshall, you're up next, I think.
Here, do you want to-
Okay. Go ahead, Jody.
I just wanted to clarify that there used to be various executive orders that have been under effect outlining what private spaces constituted and sort of giving a general directive that ICE should not be enforcing immigration laws in what was seen as a protected area. And those rules have been in effect since Clinton. They've been added to and amended over the years, but Trump in January nixed them all. So that is that is why there's no such thing in the federal perspective is no longer that there's any safe spaces that ICE is not allowed to go into. So that is a marked legal change that happened this year.
Councilor Marshall.
I would agree to give you and Jesse the authority to work on collaborations with that as well. I would suggest as far as the pamphlet, to throw the sanctuary state, what that explanation of that is on there, so that actually people have an idea of what that actually is. Because we could say that all the time and say what it is, but there's going to be people that don't understand what that actually means. So I think adding that to that would be good. And I think giving you guys the authority to work on behalf of the council, I would agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So can Council President Valenzuela, will you read the action items to Jody one at a time? And then Jody, can you just give a simple yes or no if it's legal or not, please?
All right, Jody. First action item, emergency declaration.
Yes, I see nothing wrong with that.
All right. Forest Grove Police Authority to arrest ICE officers if they're in infringement of the law, the Constitution.
I don't have a hard yes or no on that because it's not an easy yes or no answer. I would recommend no.
Just a question mark. Sure. Yeah.
I have a question, Council President.
Yes.
When legal is telling us she doesn't recommend, does that mean it is legal? Are we marking that because it's legal or illegal? Or are we marking it because of advice from legal who doesn't have a clear advice for legal? Okay.
It's going to vary on differences. It's going to vary on differences of situation. So she can't give an actual legal answer, not knowing the situation. So I think that's kind of where there's that gray area.
With a question mark, perhaps?
And my final statement would be breaking the law is breaking the law. Federal law is federal law.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mayor, is that okay? I wonder, Councilor Gustafson, can we skip to authority to council, to city manager and mayor for collaboration, municipal and regional partners? To your point, that mayors, DAs, others across the state are working on that very question. And so rather than us sort of like getting in front of that conversation, can we maybe put that as like a sub bullet for that wider conversation, that multi-jurisdictional, within the state of Oregon, we're grappling with that with legal experts.
I agree. That's completely appropriate, and you can bunch it up into there because that would be the optimal, is having an effort that is a group. But I just want to make sure: are we going to, as council, is this an item that will be on? Are we all in consensus, basically, of that?
Yes, we just need to get a legal expert response because, we don't want to put, the chief in trouble.
I want to be really clear because by moving it down there, for me, I am okay exploring it, talking to other people about it, but I'm not giving consent. I do not believe, at this point, I'm not 100 in consensus to ask our police officers to do that because I really did not get a clear answer going over that. Like, it's not okay for me to ask someone to do something that could hurt them or be illegal or put them in a bad spot. So I'm saying that I'm about learning, but I don't agree with that action item 100%. I want to be clear.
All right, so we can put a question mark on it. And Councilor Schimmel.
So we're putting a question mark. We're saying two things, and I want to make sure I understand what we're actually doing, because I see an arrow going down to the bottom, and if we're going to do that, that language needs to change completely. We can't. I'm not going to endorse putting that statement in a public document. That it's more adherence to state legal authority for law enforcement.
I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing so let's just say, is there consensus from this council? Because that's what we're going to do in a work session for this language to be part of our brainstorming, our thing. We're going to give us a quick thumbs up or thumbs down. So the language is Forest Grove Police, to give Forest Grove Police the authority to arrest ICE agents.
Yeah. Well, okay. But, so it's gone, like we're never going to talk about it again, because I think...
There's no consensus for that. No one wants to bring back new language. And that's
Okay.
right now, we have to move this.
Okay, okay.
My goal is by the end of this work session that we have steps. If we believe, which I believe, we are in a state of emergency, then we have to work. We have to come to consensus and we have to take the next step. We have 5. So
All right. Okay. So the next action item, Jody, is codifying a sanctuary city status.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Next action item, sanctuary city ordinance resolution.
If this is replacing the current resolution
Yes.
with, I see nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then a letter to Washington County Board of Commissioners to do away, to cancel the flock contract. Yeah,
There's not,
Suspend.
yep, I see nothing legally wrong with that.
all right. And then the last action item, to create a pamphlet with Sanctuary City, okay, I'm sorry. Authority to grant authority to the city manager and mayor for collaboration with municipalities and community-based organizations.
I see nothing wrong with that.
All right. And then the last one, to create a pamphlet. Oh. These are all legal. So now we can go to. All right.
What does the declaration consist of?
Okay, so I heard money, and then we're going to decide like who we would like. Brian, is this
Yeah, it's essentially an instrument for accelerating help by suspending our procurement process that allows Jesse to establish mutual aid agreements, and as whatever money that we designate that he can exhaust through whatever channels we designate. So, for example, rent, motel assistance, utilities, food, gas, immigration services, business recovery, and then any police reporting response tools that are needed, just to give you a rough range. And then also to fast track at least a few of the CEP payouts that are related in that same camp.
Jesse, can the accelerating CEP and the emergency declaration be I don't think they, so we're going to have to.
We gotta get that committee together for that.
It's a separate committee.
Okay.
But it's okay, and okay, so anyone else want to add is there anything else that we can add, Jesse, to the emergency declaration, or you have a general idea?
I do.
Okay, and I heard 100,000. I was thinking start at 50,000 based on what the county put and then what Hillsborough put, and then we can always change that amount. But based on the size of Forest Grove, it seems population-wise, is there consensus for one of those amounts? 50? Okay. 50 good?
Can we add the action item to ask for the CEP grants to be,
Not in the emergency. Oh, so
That'd be-
a separate action item in general? And just add that to that.
Well, we got a meeting
We
coming
have to
up.
go through Metro. We have
Okay.
Sorry, I'm talking without a microphone. Sorry to people streaming, but that's a Metro. The CEP grant fund is a partnership with the city of Forest Grove and Metro because of waste management. So that I can just, how about we state it like this?
Is it something that with you giving you the authority? and
No, because
Jesse,
it's
is that
still,
something
it's still
different?
it's still Metro. So, but this is what I'll say. On November 24th, we have a CEP meeting. So if members of the CEP meeting feel strong about this, we can people could bring it up in that meeting. I believe the meeting's at noon next week, in 2 weeks on Tuesday. So there is an opportunity to discuss that. Okay, and then one thing I want to say too about our order, just because we shared out in different order, because I'm just super kind of bossy, but I want the sanctuary city resolution has to come before the codifying sanctuary city status, right? So if we have consensus, we would bring a resolution replacing resolution 2017-21, which makes Forest Grove an inclusive city. We would change that to a sanctuary city. And then following that, because order of operations is important. Then we would do the ordinance saying this is protecting Forest Grove, and these are the bullet points on how we're doing it. And to the council, the city of Portland has one that has a protecting Portland ordinance. And so if you're looking for ideas or wanting more information, that's a good place to look. Okay, so is there consensus to replace inclusive city with sanctuary city? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Basically, it's just fluff because we're already under sanctuary city.
Yeah, exactly. So it just is like symbolic, and it makes us in alignment with our regional partners in the state. So I saw yes. And then what about protecting Forest Grove ordinance? Codifying sanctuary city status, private public spaces. Okay, consensus for that as well. Ooh. Okay, I'm checking those. I'm just not moving from the microphone. What about writing a letter to Washington County to suspend their contract with Flock, which is the license plate reader that we have been reported to, like saying that's causing some racial profiling and uptick. So
they were already just continuing.
I don't think so. I had a meeting with the chair plus mayor, and I asked some questions. And where did you hear that at?
Read it somewhere. I read a lot of it.
Yeah. So no, that's not what I got at that meeting. So if they are, then this will just support that. So is there consensus to do
I
that?
was thinking from Geneva.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look. So consensus for that. And then authority to the city manager and the mayor or mayor designate to work. Okay.
Could I?
Yep, you can.
I would agree with what
Angel.
Councilor Angel said earlier about reflecting law enforcement direction from the state level. We need state direction, coordination on. Just want to include law enforcement in the scope of what you're collaborating on.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Council President, I have one more comment on that one. The request from the couple groups that I'm in, including a group that's meeting about all of this during the NLC conference this month that I'll be attending, they're asking for council and mayors and city managers and law enforcement and district attorney's office. So this is a huge collaboration. So I don't know if you need to add into that council to give authority to council. I think we all have the authority to meet with whoever we want, but I don't know if we want to add that to this as well.
Well, do you think we should we put it on the agenda as this is like a permanent, like we're going to have an update work session, maybe once every 2 months? And then if we have to be reactive to something, then we can move that up. But like, would it make you feel more comfortable if we had consistent work sessions to collaborate, correlate, and then also share out what we're doing?
I actually thank you for reminding me about that, because I was also going to suggest that we have, are there going to be situations where we need to talk to each other more quickly than waiting for the next meeting? Do we need to have meetings situated more often so that they can be public noticed? And then if we do not need it, we cancel it?
Yeah, I don't know. How about we have staff look into that? How about, I don't know, like.
You can add that to the list.
Yeah, I know. I can't be on the microphone and writing at the same time. I'm like, so, okay. So we can add that and we'll have staff look into that. Okay, so next steps. I'm just going to correct me if I'm wrong, but we'd like staff to bring us back a sanctuary city resolution. We would like to have a work session where we can, as a group, draft. Everyone will have time to look at Portland's Protecting Portland ordinance, the things you wanted, but let's have a work session, if time permits, on the agenda next meeting to try to draft this Protecting Forest Grove ordinance. I will bring back a letter to the board, to Washington County Board of Commissioners, about Flock to the next meeting. So you can, and I'll put it on the consent agenda so you can look at it before we send it. Is there, Jesse, am I forgetting anything?
Emergency declaration resolution? Did
Oh,
you
yeah,
want that at the
so-
next meeting?
Next meeting, or can it, next meeting, or can it be added to this meeting?
Yeah, you can add it to this meeting if you would like. I think that's up to the council.
It's up to the council. There's additions or deletions. I can't do that. Councilors can.
Let's add it.
What? We waited.
It's an emergency today.
Well, you guys have the power to do that.
All right.
Okay.
And we can do that during the regular council, yeah.
I'm like, sorry, is there anything else I'm forgetting? Does every counselor feel like they had an opportunity to share what they wanted to share? Do they feel like we have a plan to start moving? Okay, do we feel like we're protecting our community? I don't know, but this is like where we have to start. Okay, so I'm going to adjourn this work session. You have a 4-minute bio break, and then we'll reconvene at 7:10. Thank you. Good evening. Let me get this a little closer. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Forest Grove City Council. The time is 7:15. Will our city recorder please call roll? You're good.
Councillor Gustafson?
Here.
Council President Valenzuela?
Here.
Councillor Schimmel?
Here.
Councillor Falconer?
Here.
Councillor Martinez?
Here.
Councillor Marshall?
Here.
Mayor Wenzel?
Here. Forest Grove City Council meetings are located on the land of the Tualatin Kalapuas, who call themselves the Atpalati. They are now part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. Will the council and the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item B on our agenda, which is public comment. Public comment, time provided for anyone wishing to speak to City Council on an item not on the agenda or on the agenda but not scheduled for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 2 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. The public comment period shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority of councilors present vote to extend the time. Zoom attendees may use the raise hand option to be called on. We will do in-person public comment, and then I will check Zoom. I'm going to just go over a couple ground rules quickly. Public comment is an opportunity for public testimony. The council does not respond to public comment. We thank you for your public comment. If you are excited or in agreement with words someone has spoken, I ask that you please snap if you want to show support, because I understand that's important, but it's also very important that we hear each other's words. If you are planning on showing a sign or holding up something, I ask you do that in the back of the room so other people, so we as a council can see the community. Again, council comment will be 2 minutes. And I think I'm going to call people up 2 at a time. So you can just like be sitting, just maybe to help it run a little smoother. Okay, so our first person signed up is Fernando Gutierrez. Fernando, come on up to the table in the front, sir. There's a microphone. Just state your name for the record, and then your 2 minutes will start. The next up will be Dale Feek. Yes, please, sir. Okay, whenever you're ready, Fernando.
Hey, I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
I just, I came to Forest Grove back in 1964. I think I was like 13 years old. I've lived here for quite a long time. So I'm kind of interested in how did the ICE system find out about Forest Grove? Why are we here? Why are they here? And that's basically, I'm just interested. Because we're way out here in the middle of nowhere. How did they, come and, start harassing us, or, the way they're acting?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't answer your question. I'm sorry, I don't know. Okay. Thank you, Fernando. Mr. Feek? Go ahead, Mr. Feek.
Mayor Wenzel and Council President Valenzuela and councilors. Getting better. Dale Feek, Forest Grove since 1966. I sent an email to Representative Susan McLean, who's in the audience, and Metro Councilor Juan Garcia Gonzalez. And I'm on number 2 with what you got right now, and I already sent it to you. But McLean and Gonzalez are to speak this Friday at the Indivisible Forest Grove meeting, November the 14th from 4:30 to 6 at the Forest Grove United Church of Christ at 2032 College Way. Gonzalez will speak about the scourge of ice in Washington County and what we can do about it. State Representative McLean will address SNAP delay and hunger in our community, as well as health insurance and status of Oregon's health care for all. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, as one of your slides up there, did a declaration of emergency declaration. And I've asked you to get online and read those declarations and get the details. I'm asking, please check on that. And you have the links here in writing, but you have to get online. But I sent you to read them. One of the things that wasn't put up on your slide during the presentation was this. There were 2 emergency declarations. You talked about the one in which $200,000 appropriated from reserves. That's a big deal because the budget, they don't have an adequate budget, but they're committed to this, and they went to the reserves to take an emergency action to support families devastated by local ice activities. The one that was not on the slide, the Washington County Board of Commissioners passed a $250,000 appropriation from the reserve funds to help support hungry and local families who have lost the SNAP benefits. That's important, especially what's happened with SNAP right now and the complexity that's happened. Thank you for listening and take action. And thank you for your great work as a teacher.
Thank you, Mr.
Mayor
Feek.
Wenzel.
Thank you, Dale. Our next 2 speakers are Kristen Ludwig and Peter Truex.
Thank you, Mayor, Council President, and members of the Forest Grove City Council. I believe that examples of actual humans make the ice presence real. So I'm going to share someone's story with you. A graduate of Forest Grove High School, OSU, and a doctorate from a prestigious university, a longtime educator and advocate in our Latino communities in Washington County. This person wanted to come tonight and give their testimony of what they are witnessing in their community. However, they decided to not attend due to ice presence in Forest Grove and Cornelius. The voice of a respected leader is silenced. Why? Although they are a documented human being, they are afraid as a brown person being kidnapped by masked people with unmarked cars. That's a reality. There is power in community, as we know. Look at us all here today. To highlight what actions we can take, let me just mention a few. Voluntary notaries who could assist parents with family preparation kits in case of emergency. We can support parents by waiting with the kids at the bus stops because parents are too afraid to be outside their homes. We are a resilient, seeking justice community. So please join me up and activism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pete Truex,
former member of this council, I want to take the opportunity to thank Mayor Wenzel and council for the chance to comment. The effort by residents to raise their concerns in the presence of ICE in our community and its blatant disregard for we the people. I served on this council for 22 years and have worked with some of you on the dais tonight. Others I've come to know and respect for your commitment to public service. I'm now a neophyte member of the Board of Directors for the Forest Grove School District. That in itself contains a whole slew of problems. The school district is facing this onslaught of autocracy. We are developing, as is every other district in the state, policies and procedures to protect our students and by extension their families, as well as our staff and teachers. Pragmatically, we do this to maintain an environment where learning can take place. We all know from Maslow's hierarchy that certain needs for a person must be met before their other educational goals can be addressed. Personal safety and protection rank on the top of that hierarchy. If a student feels unsafe, if a student feels threatened, if a student is concerned about family members, then that student will not be concerned with parsing sentences, conjugating French verbs, or solving quadratic equations. And that's where you come in. I would hope rather than a work session, you would hold a public hearing on any resolution concerning the state of emergency. That decision will be yours, but we should all have the pathway open for testimony on this proposal. I know it would be awkward. I know it could even get confrontational, but that's what we do in a democracy. We cannot afford to use the same weapons as those who would rather limit discussion, those who would rather name call, those who would rather do an end run around the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I like to believe that I'm a student of government. I'm still learning at 19 years, plagiarize Lincoln. We've come a long way since 1776, but the words at the end of the Declaration of Independence are as vivid and strong tonight as they were then. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other, our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor.
Thank you. Beth Genley and Melissa Tim.
Thank you. I'm Beth Genley with Indivisible Forest Grove. No Kings saw 800 of us at the big flagpole. Many were protesting that ICE agents, far from lawful immigration enforcement, are indiscriminately tearing apart families and traumatizing children. So we, outraged and heartbroken Forest Grove citizens, are attending Migrant Watch and Legal Observer trainings, walking the streets outside schools to provide support and reassurance to vulnerable families, assembling and distributing whistle kits by the hundreds, and ramping up food drives to aid families afraid to leave their homes to work or shop, planning to raise money for lawyers, and videoing ICE activities. So we, ordinary citizens, are stepping up, legally, peacefully, sometimes despite physical risk, because our federal government is pursuing heartless and violent actions against all of us on many fronts at once, actions very similar to the offenses listed in the Declaration of Independence. We are hearing that policy discussions about ICE outrages are happening statewide. Good. But please be clear, we need you to act. We strongly support Mayor Wenzel's proposals and Councilor Gustafson's concerns. We also ask that you express sadness and outrage at these offenses and sympathy and solidarity with terrified Forest Grove townspeople. For police, what can you do? For a start, intervene in illegal assaults as listed in Forest Grove Policy 300.2.1. Record ICE raids on your body cameras. Officially report on ICE raids to your supervisors. Document the lack of visible IDs, the unmarked cars, the trashing of due process, the kidnappings, the excessive force. Make that documentation available to the DA and other lawyers fighting this scourge. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
I'm Melissa Tim, and Mayor Wenzel, Council President Valenzuela, and City Councilors. I'm referencing a letter I sent to this council and to the Cornelius City Council on Friday, November 7th. I've taught in the school district for 28 years. I've lived in Forest Grove for 32 years. And the collective trauma that has in our community has multiplied dramatically in the last few weeks. The very real fact is that members of our community are disappearing without warning, and it is tragic. Students in our school district have returned home to no parents because both have been taken by ICE. A mom who has a child in our district and is 7 months pregnant now has no husband because her husband has been taken by ICE. Last week, the partner of a school district employee was violently taken by ICE near my elementary school. Earlier last week, ICE agents were circling our school, Cornelius Elementary, which is where I've been teaching for the last 15 years, stopping at the bus stops where parents have to walk their students to the bus stop, especially if it's a kindergartner by Midco law, in order to get them there. And waving mockingly at staff members wearing the yellow vest for safety at our school staff members, where there's, ICE agent, masked ICE agent. Hey, how you doing? Our Family Resource Center is collecting referral forms for families who need food pickups and food deliveries because people don't feel safe leaving their homes. That is a district-wide organization that's housed at Cornelius Elementary. Many schools have formed safety patrols with vests to provide a visible show of support to students and families as they come to and leave our schools. These safety patrols are currently being staffed by school staff during their prep times before and after school. Staff members are picking up and dropping off students who would otherwise not be at school. I ask you to consider what you as a council, what our city, what the city of Cornelius can do to organize against this. I was really impressed and motivated by what happened in Hillsborough, the development of HUMAN, and that seemed really like they got a plan. Let's get a plan.
Thank you. Linda Taylor and Michael Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilors. Linda Taylor, Forest Grove. I appreciate your leadership and recognize that these are challenging and stressful times, and that my phone just turned off. Okay, to be a public servant. And it's even more terrifying still for our immigrant friends and neighbors or anyone born with brown skin, given the lawlessness of the current regime. I deeply appreciate the inclusive community and immigration resources that are featured currently on the website of the City of Forest Grove. They are a welcome service to our community and an affirmation of city staff and leadership's commitment to uphold the rights of all within our bounds. And I deeply appreciate the work you're doing this evening to come up with a plan and to take action steps. I do want to underscore, and it sounded like you're already on it, but the fact that we are a city that has a public utility is another opportunity for emergency assistance for people that federal energy assistance funding cuts or inability to pay utility bills as a result of employment disruptions provoked by ICE. Another area of concern that they'll lose their heat. But I wanted to share one little thing here because I didn't hear anybody talking about, in terms of testifying, for when you call PERC, the things that they want to know in the hotline, and this is for you and the audience, they want to know the acronym SALUTE. S for size of the group of ICE agents, A for the action or activity that they are doing, L for the location of the agents, U for the uniforms, such as black tactical vests and gaiters, T for the time and date of the event, and E for the equipment or weapons they're carrying. So using SALUTE as an acronym helps them have useful information for when they are trying to document and give legal assistance and other kinds of help to people that are being detained. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Johnson, and I am also with Indivisible. I'm here representing them, but also myself. And I don't have prepared remarks because I had a feeling a lot of what I would have said has already been said, and it has. I appreciate the conundrum that this council finds itself in. We are a nation of laws, and yet it seems that when the lawless are the law, we find ourselves up against it. And the only thing that I can say is we need to work harder to try to find ways in which we can take that law and use it to defend our citizens and non-citizens alike. And I have a few suggestions. We talk about collecting information and documenting and recording, and we can all do that, including law enforcement. I don't necessarily think that we need to intervene directly at the time of the crime, and these goons are committing crimes. And the reason I say that is simply because they're carrying AR-15s and our guys have sidearms. And they're just dumb enough to where they might use them. So what I suggest instead is that you take that information, find ways to get it expeditiously into the hands of the families and their attorneys so they can use it in habeas petitions, possible legal act or civic action later on. Also find ways to facilitate the collection of the kind of information that we have collected and get that into the hands of the people who need it. And finally, I think you can take some of that information, take it to a judge, and if the officer feels that he really can't risk citing the criminal for arresting someone for without a warrant and no probable cause, and the color of your skin is not probable cause, then you can take it to a judge and see if you can't get a bench warrant or at least a citation to appear and make them come in and explain themselves. And I'm out of time, so that'll have to do it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read the comment. There's public comment signed up, and I was asked to read it. So this is what it says. Can you say that we are more than farm workers? Regardless of the job that we do, we are human that deserve peace and calmness in our lives. Carol Allen, I always miss the name. Sorry, Carol. I'm like, the last name kind of feel like it goes to cursive and it's hard for me to read. I'm doing well. Thank you, Carol.
I've got something. It says 7 lessons to learn. Can you believe this? This is from a Roman emperor that was 1,850 years ago. And it sounds like America today. So I'm going to read this to you. So it says, Marcus Aurelius these are the words and the advice of anyone who would be in a rush hour traffic, thankless job, and so on, what's going on. I can neither be harmed by any of them, nor one else can involve me in a shameful device, nor can I be angry with my fellow man, nor hate him, for we have been for cooperation just at like the feet and hands and eyelids and the upper and lower teeth. And he goes on to say, here's the 7 reasons. Think and act with reason. Aurelius believed that all humans contained an element of reason which could be used to determine good and right. It is not as sanctioned by God that anything else, such as the praise of many, power, wealth, indulgence, and pleasure, should be placed above the accordance and the reason of the common good. Take a view from above. You must always keep this in mind. What is the nature of the whole? What is the nature and how that nature relates to the greater nature? Accept what you can't control. He recognized that much of human life is beyond our control, including the behavior of other people. However, we can still control how we perceive and react to them. In other words, if we can control our minds and refuse to let external factors upset us, then we'll break the spell of any power those factors will hold. Work for the common good. Take pleasure and rest in one thing, making a way from one communal duty to another, remembering God. And then he stressed the importance of asking. So he just goes, improve your inner self, practice unconditional kindness, and be grateful for the gift of life. I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Those are all the public signups. Is there anyone in the audience who may not have known where to sign up and would like to provide testimony? Okay, you can come up. We're gonna go you and then you and then you. So we'll have 3 and then I'll ask again. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natona Derleth, and I will start this off by saying nothing special. I'm a new mom. I have an 8-month-old. I'm a university employee here. I've been in Forest Grove for since 2018. I've never attended one of these meetings before, so I didn't know what to expect, and I certainly didn't think I was going to say anything. The students who are here in the building know that I'm not the most talkative person in the world. I have not recited the Pledge of Allegiance since I was a child. That really took me by surprise, especially with the topic of tonight that we're spending most of our time talking about. People being ripped off the streets, kidnapped, children not knowing where their parents are. I can't imagine my son not knowing where I am. We talked about, pledging an allegiance. Allegiance means loyalty. So we all stood up in here, myself included, because I didn't know what to do. We pledged our loyalty to a flag that should represent freedom, should represent the fairness and the validity of the people who look up to it. And that is not happening right now. And I just have to say, I don't know if it's required before city council meetings or what, but I would love to see that revisited, because if there is anything that does not represent who we are and what we're doing, it's the Pledge of Allegiance right now. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Justin Bear. I've been a member of this community since 2017. I'd like to start off by just reading you a definition. Someone who uses force or violence to intimidate or coerce a government, a civilian population, or segment thereof to advance political or social objectives. That's the definition of a terrorist under Uniform Code. I've been to La Migra Watch training with my wife. I was online for the Hillsborough State of Emergency Teams meeting, whatever that was. I chose to speak here tonight because I'm tired. I'm tired of listening to my daughter talk about friends and family in her school who are fearful of going outside. I'm tired of having to explain why her best friend's family chooses to avoid public places, why they might be targeted. And I'm really tired of hearing we just can't do something because we don't know for sure whether or not we can get away with it. I'd remind you that in American history, we've faced times like this before. And what's mattered is that the people who can take action in a definitive way. And I would encourage you, if it comes down to not having the knowledge or the resources to make good decisions, to find creative ways to pull the right people in to enable those decisions. Because ultimately, folks like you and us are the people who make the difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Sean Elke. I moved here in 2018. I'm not a natural Oregonian. I moved here from Michigan in 2004. I usually don't share my personal story, but I will. I served law enforcement for 10 years. served under 2 joint task force in the federal government with the DEA and Homeland Security after 9/11. And it was an honor for me to represent them because we live by a code of honor, integrity, and most important, compassion. We have laws that we live by. The chief has laws that live by of this city. Getting into a battle with the federal government is probably not what you guys want to do. And I agree with that. I want to keep our police officers safe. That's our army that protects us. But we need to protect these people who come here for pursuit of liberty and happiness and peace. They have laws that they have to live by. These aggressive tactics must stop. How you guys do that, I don't know. You're just a small city of Forest Grove. But what I encourage you is to understand the legality of jurisdiction, understand the legalities of the laws that they are breaking. And we need to bombard our DA with what we're seeing. We need to bombard our governor. And we have not heard anything from the state. And I'm actually very ashamed of our governor and the people that run the state, specifically the attorney general. As one of the most biggest person that can really help us. And they're not speaking to the federal government. And I'll just say in ending, identity politics is destroying our nation. And it sucks for you guys. So I urge you to not make this an emotional thing, but make this a good plan. I love the action plan that you guys, I support it. And I will be here supporting you as well. But please bombard the DA, bombard the Attorney General, bombard the governor, because those back here who are afraid of don't have a voice, and you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals in the audience who would like to give public testimony? Okay, yes, come on up. I see some on Zoom. We're going to finish in person and then I'll move to Zoom. I promise. Hi, thank you.
Avery Grubbs.
Hi, Gay. Sorry, I haven't seen Gay for a while. Hi, Gay. Sorry.
So I've been in Forest Grove for a long time. I was an inclusion facilitator for the district for 20-something years. I have a daughter. I have a son, too, who's a military guy, but he's retired. But my daughter is 47 and disabled. She's had a caregiver, one caregiver who's worked with her for 20 years, another one that's been with me for 10 years. Both of them, Yolanda became a citizen 10 years ago. The other one is born or became a citizen as a child. And they have always been able to take her out in the community because community inclusion is a big part of my daughter's life. She had a stroke about 15 years, or in 2015, and became more disabled. She had autism. She still has that, but she became paralyzed. She's nonverbal. And they're fearful of taking her out because of their skin color. And that seems so crazy to me, but I realize how unsafe it is for her to be out, because if the way these people behave to just take someone, and what even happens to my daughter, I mean, I will go and get them out if I can, because they're not criminals. They're actually documented and everything. But I really worry, like when you're thinking of action plans, what happens to those people that are being taken are caring for? I mean, it's not their children only. That's bad enough. There are so many other things that these people are contributing to us and to our society, and that's going to be taken away. And to not do anything about it, I came tonight just to try to get some answers. What do I do? How do I protect everybody that are working with myself?
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the Zoom public comment. I thought I saw one. If you are on Zoom and you would like to provide public comment, could you please use the raise hand feature? Okay, Mika Mendez, we're gonna promote you. Mika, you are free to give your public comment whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I did not prepare for this, but a lot of things that I want to say has been said for a lot of the people that are here speaking up for us. Thank you very much for being here and being our voice. We are afraid. We are scared. We don't know who's gonna kidnap us because people with masks, we don't know if they are ICE. I haven't seen this in for me, I haven't, police officers are not wearing masks. So why do they have to wear masks? Are they really, what are they hiding? Only people that are hiding things wear masks. So thank you very much for being here and speak us for a lot of families speaking up, for the children speaking up for my community. And I just want to let you guys, we are not criminals. We are not taking jobs away from you guys. We're not taking benefits away from you guys. We are working hard people, and it's a lot of misinformation out there about us. And I urge you guys to help us to spread that we are good people, that we came here for a better life and do our best in this country. It's sad. It's really sad. It's really sad. I work in my community and I came here a long time ago, and United States is changing a lot. So do not let your country become one of those countries that we had to escape. So please stand up, and thanks again for speaking up for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mika. Are there other individuals on, yes, we're going to promote I think it says iPhone. Sorry, okay, so whenever you're ready, you may go ahead and give public testimony.
Hi, my name is Rosa, and everything is really sad going on, and I understand everything, and I understand why I is doing this, but I just want to let you guys know, thank you for everything you guys doing. I am a DACA recipient, and it's really hard to tell my kids, because I'm a mother of 3, saying them that maybe they can take me away and go back where I was born. I'm here since I was 7 years old, so I don't know anything. If I go, they take me back. If they're gonna take my life, because I don't know anything from where I was born. And this is here in Forest Grove. I've been living here since I was 7 years old. Here's my life. Here's where I want to be, because I have my kids, and I'm afraid. And my daughters are afraid that when they come back from school, I'm not gonna be home. And it's so hard to let them know that it could happen. But I know you guys are here for us, and you guys are supporting us by speaking from us. And I really appreciate everything you guys doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Anyone in addition on Zoom who would like to give public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period. Oh, we got one more. Okay, go ahead, come on. So you're just going to take a seat at the table and state your name, and then you have 2 minutes. Yeah,
All
you're
right.
good.
So my name is Sandra. Work 2 jobs, so I had to miss the first part. I don't know what's going on. I have no prior knowledge to anything. I literally had to work my ass off to be able to be here right now at my second job. And I just want you guys to know that I'm angry. Our people are suffering. Our people are suffering. Our students are suffering. They can't come to school. They don't want to come to school. And something needs to be done about it. The city of Hillsborough is working really hard to make sure that their citizens over there are okay, that our citizens of Washington County are doing okay. So I want to ask you guys, I don't know what's going on, but what are you guys doing? Because I know what I'm doing. I'm going out there, and despite being fucking scared myself to be out there, because I am their target audience, I am a target to them. I'm still going out there and I'm still picking up groceries for people. I'm still going out there and I'm still trying to do my very best to help my community, even though I'm also really, really scared. So I'm asking you guys, as the city, please help. Please enact those protections for our immigrant people. Please help. And I know that you guys can do that. I know that you guys can ask them to take off their masks, to show their badges, to show their names. I want you guys to make them as uncomfortable as we are going out into the streets.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to speak for the council. We would like to thank everyone for showing up and supporting our community members, giving us suggestions, doing the things you can do. We had a work session prior to the public comment. The consensus from this council was to look towards a state of emergency, then to also replace our inclusive city resolution, which was 201721, with a sanctuary city, then work on codifying sanctuary city status and other protections and title that Protecting Forest Grove Ordinance. We also agreed to draft a letter to Washington County Board of Commissioners asking them to suspend or cancel their contract with Flock. And am I forgetting any? Oh, and then we're going to coordinate with other local municipalities, our service organizations, community-based programs, and law enforcement to elevate these things to the state and federal delegation. And I also think, you know, we're open to more suggestions. We are a team. We all love Forest Grove, and Forest Grove is made up of many different people who bring expertise, culture, caring, and I just encourage you as individuals. Sometimes I hear from people like, what can I do? This seems so big. Please volunteer, donate with Centro, volunteer and donate with Adelante. Continue to shop at Latino businesses. Go to Latino, grocery stores. I would, I'm going to switch my jobs a little bit, but many people spoke to how this is affecting our kids, and they're completely correct. And so if you have the time to support children, to go to the teachers' unions and help us get kids to school and help them grocery shop for their parents, then that would be very helpful, because it's our kids that are hurting the most. And I don't know how you come back from this trauma. I don't know how you come back for it. Also, another resource that I would like people to know about is Oregon for All and ECHO Law Lab. There was a recommendation from ECHO at an information session I attended last week. If you have friends, and I'm sorry, but it's my understanding that racial profiling is going on, and it doesn't matter if you're documented or not documented, get a lawyer and work with ECHO before anything happens, because that's what ECHO is. That's what the ACLU is recommending. That's what ECHO is recommending as well. So again, I just want to thank you all for your public comment and for supporting us. And we're going to move on to item D on the agenda, which is additions or deletions. City Manager, do you have any additions or deletions?
Sorry, I think we skipped the consent agenda.
What's that?
We do have one.
Consent. Oh, sorry. I skipped over C. I'm sorry. The consent agenda, items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will all be adopted with a single motion without separate discussion. Councilors who wish to remove an item from the consent agenda may do so prior to the motion. Any items removed will be discussed and acted upon following the approval of the remaining items. What is the wish of the council?
No move.
Second.
Okay, Councilor Marshall moved and Councilor Gustafson seconded the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 The consent agenda is approved in a vote of 7-0. So wait a minute. I'm going to wait 1 minute while people are moving out. Okay, we're going to move on to item D, additions or deletions. City Manager, do you have any additions or deletions?
I have no additions or deletions. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, counselors.
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Faulkner.
I'd like to add the declaration of an emergency to the agenda tonight.
So I have a motion. Does it have to be an emotion? Yeah. I have a motion from Counselor Faulkner to add an emergency declaration to the agenda. Is there a second? Council President Valenzuela is seconding that. Discussion? Is there any discussion on it? All those in favor of, wait, what? Yeah, all those in favor of adding an emergency declaration, is it a resolution?
It is a resolution.
Yeah, an emergency declaration resolution to tonight's agenda. We would place it in F2. We'd place it in F2. Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none. An agenda item to add an emergency declaration is added to the agenda item F2. Okay. Any other ones from the council? Any other additional additions or deletions? Okay. To prepare for our council retreat in December, we are going to begin with our department updates. And so we're going to start with our Public Works annual update with our Public Works Director, Greg Robertson. Hello, Greg. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Greg Robertson, Public Works Director for the city. Tonight, I'm going to give you an update on departmental activities over this past year and some priorities as to what we will be doing in 2026. The purpose of the discussion is to discuss goals and objectives as well as those items in the 2040 vision plan. So under goals and objectives, and let me preface this by saying that projects that I work on usually take 3 years, 2 to 3 years to develop to the point where they're actually being built. So 2025 goals and objectives, I actually kind of stole because they really weren't completely applicable to projects that were started in 2023. But visionarily wise, they did align with a couple of items. So under goals and objectives, projects that we're working on specifically is the Council Creek Regional Trail. I'm pleased to let you know that they're planning on going to bid April 1st of 2026 with a 2-year build. And that is moving along quite well. We are partnering with them financially as well as assisting them with a technical review of the existing alignment and grade, and then more importantly, the at-grade crossings that will be coming, and that will be happening later in 2026. But timing-wise, it's going to fit in very well with their schedule. Next slide, please. Under the 2040 vision plan, under community growth, there were several items that garnered my attention that were applicable to the projects that I'm either currently working on or planning on working on. And they include prioritizing public safety improvements, ADA improvements, and updates to city infrastructure to make them accessible, working on long-term updates to our master plans, and finally develop green and resilient infrastructure projects. Accomplishments for this year. We have finalized essentially a IGA. We're waiting on one other one on the maintenance activities for the Council Creek Regional Trail. It is fully funded through a variety of sources, and as I said, they're planning on going to bid April of 2026 and starting construction in earnest shortly thereafter. We this year completed approximately 1.5 miles of overlay throughout the city and did 66 curb ramp replacements. To date, since we started in earnest at it, we've completed nearly 500 curb ramps in town and have mostly taken care of our collector routes that are now and arterial routes that are now compliant. And fortunately, we're the town center project is coming to a conclusion. We have 4 bricks left and 1 free well, and that'll be that. Additionally, a project that we started literally 2 years ago is now actually being constructed, and that is the expansion of the and remodel of the Public Works admin facility. Next.
When is that going to get done?
April of 2026. The contractor has poured, done all the underground utilities, and has poured the slab on grade. On the next stage will be framing. And our crew is in tight quarters. You can see from the photo on the left that that's their lunchroom, and it's about half gone right now. So it's a little tight squeeze for those folks. But everyone's in good spirits, and the project is moving along very well with a lot of wonderful collaboration on the part of the architect, the contractor, and city staff. Next. One other project, and this one, I hope I didn't lie too much. I had this slide kind of thinking we would be done with it by now, but it's got slight delays. But we expect it to be finished this year. And this is the emergency intertie project. The photo here is the main piping that will tie into the North Transmission Line for the Joint Water Commission's line out in Heather Street. This will be covered by a building. The concrete slab flooring was placed today, and they will be doing the vertical. And one last thing we need to work on is the actual tie-in with JWC. We had run into a little bit of a problem there week before last, but we're getting it resolved. So priorities for the coming year. One is, the first is, and this one's kind of near and dear to my heart because I'm a walker and I walk around town a lot. And I observe and see the traffic patterns, particularly in the downtown, more urbanized part. And I also know that both 19th Avenue and Pacific Avenue are our highest accident corridors, both in crash volume and severity. So one of the things that I am championing is looking at the notion, and pretty high level, but looking at the notion of returning the couplet from B Street to Hawthorne Street to two-way traffic. So the one-ways would be eliminated, and it would do a lot. It would deal with slowing traffic down, and improving at-grade crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists. There's a lot of upside to be doing it. I know it's controversial, but we're going to begin with a planning study to sort through what may need to happen and give a better picture of the mechanics involved in doing so. We'll be finishing the design on Safe Routes for School. We've hired a consultant due to a long-term employee getting ready to retire at the end of the year. And they are working with us right now to finalize the design. The big ticket item is dealing with the railroads, 2 of them, and getting their concurrence on a design for the crossing. But that is moving along, and hopefully we can go to construction this next year. But we'll be kind of gauged on what happens with the railroads and their timelines. We will continue our next round of overlays and curb ramps as our annual maintenance program. We target for about 1.5 miles to 2 miles, depending on the road segment, and have been averaging about 80 curb ramps. It's probably going to start to dwindle just a little bit because we're getting caught up, actually. And then a project that is of interest to me because I walk over at Fern Hill Wetlands and have to cross the street daily is the intersection of Highway 47 Maple and Fern Hill. It is targeted for a conventional traffic signal with some additional channelization to urbanize the crossing and slow folks down. One of the things we've been waiting on is the moving of a pole, and seems to me we're making some real good progress with the Bonneville Power Administration. And they at least have an initial plan in place to get it relocated early next year. That's a good sign. And working back, if all things go according to Hoyle, we may be able to get it out for bid right after the first of the year. Next slide. Another project that I'm working on that I picked up from Paul Downey is a water rate and SDC study. It's been years since we've done one, and Paul had started it in 2024, and then I think his workload got so heavy that he wasn't able to get to it, and so I'm picking it up and getting started again. Our goal is to have a work session with the council early in 2026 with a public hearing to consider those changes. We're in the information gathering stage right now with the consultant and are moving along in that direction. Another project that is one of those that you just fit in is we received an arts grant through the DOT to upgrade signage on our arterial routes in town. Those plans are finalized, and we are working with Washington County to utilize the services of their on-call contractor to get them installed. And so we'll be working over the next month or two to get them outlined and get going on it.
Can I interrupt? How much was that grant for?
$250,000.
Thank you.
And one thing that we've been delaying doing anything with is the stormwater and sewer master plan. We're back on track now. We've been waiting on Clean Water Services to do the hydraulic modeling, save us the money of having to do the hydraulic modeling. So it saves the city a ton of money. And that will be the basis for determining what improvements are to be made and where. And that's moving along again now that we have the data. And then one project that is coming to a conclusion. You've probably seen around town a lot of new signs being popped up by Washington County and GroveLink for enhanced bus stops, and their process. I noticed one of the, or at least two of the shelters have been removed and are to be replaced with new, a little bit more resilient ones than what previously had. And that is supposed to wrap up, I think, in the next month or two. That's all I have for you tonight. Any questions?
I have a question. Well, I have lots of questions, but so if you wanted, I mean, if you were going to highlight, like if, for the state, I'm thinking state of the city, I like to highlight accomplishments from each department. Which would be your top like 2 or 3? I have a list here, so you can just tell me and I'll circle it.
Well, I think in terms of impact to a particular community, the Safe Routes to School is a pretty cool project. Kids are forced to walk out on the street at that railroad crossing. It's not ideal. Right away is limited there. And also the segment from Rose Park on TV Highway to U Street is heavily used. And in fact, when I was out grabbing some photos, unintentionally, I photographed 2 people on mobility devices that were actually out in the street. That's not a safe situation. And this will address both of those. And that's probably not the biggest project that I'm working on, not the smallest, but in terms of impact to schools and children, that's a lot of bang for them.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, anyone else have questions for Greg? Hey, good job this year. Like you always do a really good job. So
Keep trying.
So thank you.
You betcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you going to have a ribbon cutting when you finish the admin building? I mean, I know you public works guys like all the fanfare, the sugar cookies, like.
We'll be moved in and enjoying life. Or they will. I won't. But yeah, we'll probably.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, next up is our police department annual update.
Mayor.
Hello, Chief.
Councilors, it's good to see you all again this fine evening. So this evening, we're going to do a quick overview of our annual report to council, reviewing the objectives, 2025 objectives, as well as the 2040 plan. Next slide, please. Again, to brief council on the department goals, objectives, accomplishments, and priorities to help inform council for your annual retreat. Next slide. So our 2025 goals and objectives assigned by council was 3.2 is to pass the police station bond measure, which unfortunately, as you know from our earlier work session, that did not happen. We actually held our work session today to look at what steps we should move forward to. So staff will take the direction given by council today and we'll move forward with that. 3.3 is implement a public safety response times dashboard. That data has been completed. Our communications staff will be placing both ours and fire's response time online on social media sites. 3.4 is identify code updates to improve code enforcement services. Staff has scheduled a work session with council in January of 26 to discuss potential codes and areas for further review and discussion. Next slide, please. So in regards to the 2040 plan, our action items are under section 2. So we'll start out with 2.11 is increase enforcement of traffic laws. 2.17 is, again, the new police facility. 2.18 is prioritize staffing and equipment for public safety through workload analysis. Explore expansion, 219 is explore expansion of community volunteer support functions for public safety. 2.21 is continue to partner with other districts and agencies to improve public safety services and response times. Next slide. So in regards to our accomplishments with the 2040 plan is, so this summer we put on our first Pacific University intern.
What did they do?
I mentioned she was onboarded this summer. We also have a new, another volunteer coming on next week. to help us with some workload analysis. We received 3 traffic enforcement ODOT grants. And I think we're up to like several thousand citations based on those grants. So we've been doing a lot of work on traffic. Our parking fines were adjusted by ordinance to assist in determining the parking violations. One of our other accomplishments in regards to outreach is we reached 16,000 followers on Facebook. And we adjudicated 10 major cases. And that may not seem a lot, but when we look at the timeline for trials, we actually had several attempted murder cases, as well as significant sex abuse cases that were adjudicated and prosecuted successfully. Next slide. So our priorities will continue to work on the 2020 workload, and we'll get that done by the end of this calendar year. We like doing calendar year workload analysis, gives us a broader scope of the data that's out there. Again, we mentioned the police facility, and a big one is to ratify our labor contract. Questions?
Oh, I'm in charge. Sorry. Hi, Chief. So I saw on our website that there's a posting for a police chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then I feel like this is your news, but first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming out of retirement and bringing our community back together with trusting our police department. The work you did is just like amazing. And if I had my way, I mean, I would let you retire because you deserve it. But I guess, so getting to my question, during your tenure as a retired, revisited police chief in the city of Forest Grove, what are a couple things that you enjoyed the most or that you're most proud of?
Well, I have to start out with staff. You actually have amazing staff at the police line level. And experience, with any agency, you experiencing, the good times, the bad times, transition times in regards to people leaving, coming and going. But again, you do have amazing staff here. You had amazing staff when I first got here. We were very fortunate to continue to hire very good people. That's probably the biggest caveat. Not to bolster anybody's ego, but you got a great city manager. And I mean that because I've served, he's blushing over there, but I have served and worked with several city managers at Hillsborough, and Jesse's definitely on top of that. And as well as the collaboration between all the department directors. It's a very close-knit community, and I know Jim and we talk a lot, and we try to collaborate on a lot of projects together, as well as with Greg. Those are probably the big things for the PD.
Thank you very much, Chief. Oh, sorry, Councilor Schimmel has a question. I was just ignoring him. Sorry, Councilor Schimmel.
Probably should. And that probably should have followed my question, because I want to circle back to the earlier work section. When I should have asked this then is, if your officer were to come upon a group of ICE agents that they believe were abusing their authority, what would be the probable outcomes or risks if they were to intervene?
So a few weeks, I'm going to tell you backstory a little bit. A few weeks ago, I did direct all our officers to record any ICE interactions, documents. Again, we have body-worn cameras by policy. They need to have them on unless they're doing juvenile or domestic type of violence, sexual abuse investigations. So I told them to make sure they follow policy, and again, to record. If they need to, is to ask if there is a warrant. Again, it doesn't mean ICE has to show us. When we do a knock and talk, if some neighbor came up and said, let me see the warrant, we wouldn't show them. We just let the person know that we're serving, that we have a warrant, and we would read the warrant. So again, in regards to intervention, it would really be situational. And again, we are working on a tipping point on when we should intervene. And this has got to be a state level discussion to understand what protections officers across the board, not only in Forest Grove, but across the state, that would have, and where that tipping point actually would have to take place. Though, as I mentioned in the work session in 181A, we have a duty to report and intervene. That does not apply to federal law enforcement. though our current direction from our Attorney General, State Attorney General, that they feel that we can report. Again, the intervene piece is the big discussion. We're meeting with our law enforcement council Thursday, which includes Kevin Barton, and that's probably our main discussion for folks in Washington County on where that is. But again, that's going to have to be a state level conversation to understand the guidance and the judicial processes that will involve officers if they intervene.
Can I ask a follow-up question here?
Well, I want to acknowledge that I appreciate that, and you answered the second half of the question about what direction or authority you need to take to do anything further. But I just an acknowledgement that based on not only public testimony tonight, but at Washington County and Hillsborough, people are asking police to literally cite, arrest a federal agent, which would effectively be asking them to violate the Constitution and break the law in the process of upholding the law and the Constitution. That seems untenable, and I empathize with the position your officers are put in, where they have to. They're rarely there, but when they are, they are in such a untenable situation to observe that and potentially risk their career and life in a group of agents with assault weapons and not know what they are capable of doing. So I stand by your officers in making those decisions and going to the extent of what the law allows you to do and wait for further direction and protections for you. I abhor the notion that we have to expect you to risk not only your life, but if those agents were to respond in a lethal manner, everyone in that surrounding area is in danger, and we would risk further escalation from the federal government, regardless of court. So I applaud that your officers have the composure and discipline to uphold their job, and they are upholding the Constitution, even in the face of a relentless government who's breaching that same document. So I think
Well, our officers are pretty proactive, and I'll share a quick story, if I may. Is we had one of our officers actually do a traffic stop on a nice vehicle last week because they had expired plates. So,
Oh, cool. Yes.
and we were very blessed because it was one of our officers who's from Iran, and I'm glad he wasn't taken.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chief. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Chief. Cody's filling in for Ann tonight, and he gets to give the Parks and Recreation update. I hope Ann buys you lunch. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, right. I was like, wink, wink, push, push.
Yes. She's off on vacation having a good time, so as she deserves it. So I'll be here for you all this evening.
Thank you, Cody.
So thank you all for your time this evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, Director Lane has asked me to stand in for her this evening. For those of you who may not know, I'm Cody Jeffers. I'm the Recreation Coordinator for the Parks and Recreation Department. And so I'll be reading Director Lane's words for you tonight, as it is related to the presentation up on the screen. So this evening, I will be sharing a review and update of the 2025 City Council goals and objectives specific to the Parks and Recreation Department, a review and update on tasks identified in the 2040 Vision Plan for Parks and Recreation, as well as department accomplishments from 2025 and priorities for 2026. After that, I will do my best to answer questions you all may have. Anything I can't answer this evening will be noted in happy to pass that on to Director Lane for a later response.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to brief you all on Parks and Recreation goals, objectives, accomplishments, and priorities to help inform your upcoming annual City Council retreat. Of those goals related to the Parks and Recreation Department are goals 2 and 4. Goal 2 of the 2025 City Council goals and objectives is to ensure an inclusive, accessible, and sustainable community. Within Goal 2, Objective 2.6 is to evaluate staff capacity in administration and parks maintenance. Goal 4 is to enhance recreation opportunities for all. Objectives of this goal are to complete Parks and Recreation cost recovery plan, construct Eastside Park, update the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, and to complete the design for Kyle Park, and to develop the Forest Grove Loop Trail Master Plan. In addition to the City Council goals are some from the 2040 Vision Plan as well. Goal statement from the 2040 Vision Plan states that we envision a Forest Grove community where everyone can enjoy safe, accessible, and inclusive recreation opportunities that enhance quality of life for all ages and abilities. So action items for that goal of the 2040 Vision Plan include the following 8 objectives. There's quite a few of them, so we've got our work cut out for us. Those 8 objectives are to update the City Parks and Recreation Master Plan, establish a Recreation Advisory Committee with representatives from the City of Forest Grove, City of Cornelius, Pacific University, and Forest Grove School District in order to develop recommendations to increase recreational opportunities across our community. Goal number 3 is to explore options for multi-use recreation community facility that includes space for recreation, events, mentorship, education, connection. Also to create a gathering space by developing the Eastside Park, work with Pacific University on updating the Lincoln Park long-term use agreement, identify and reduce barriers to participation in recreation for things such as costs, transportation, awareness, availability of resources, and much more. Also to increase access to recreation opportunities for people with varied abilities. And lastly, to host the Safety Town community event. So we have a lot ahead of us, and already the Parks and Recreation Department has accomplished 2 of those 6 objectives set forth by you all in City Council for the 2025 Council goals, and we continue to make steady progress on the 4 objectives. One such accomplishment is Objective 4.4, and that is to complete design for Kyle Park here. Kyle Park is approximately 7.5 acres and located adjacent to B Street Storage on B Street. The park was identified in 2016 in the Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan as an opportunity to develop the site as an open space greenway that provides a range of bicycling opportunities for people of all ages and abilities. Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan also indicates that the site should be, and I quote, equipped with bike trails, a bike skills area, and a bike track. So, theme of Kyle Park, bike. Kyle Park design was coupled with the Forest Grove Loop Trail project when it was put out to bid. This was done intentionally, as you might imagine, to maximize efficiency and reduce duplication efforts of these 2 projects as they have a heavy intersection with one another. We began this project in October of 2023 with the hiring of Alta Planning and Design and their subcontractor, Place LLC. Since that time, the community engagement and outreach efforts have been completed, as well as concept design, preliminary schematic design, and now a final design. The next step in this project is a value engineer the project and to develop construction documents. The next goal completed was Objective 4.5, and that is to develop the Forest Grove Loop Trail Master Plan. Forest Grove Loop Trail is an approximate 13-mile loop trail that will encircle the entirety of City of Forest Grove. It is comprised of existing trails and proposed trails that are to be connected to complete this entire 13-mile loop. Included in the plan is the development of Kyle Park into a main trailhead parking location and a bicycle recreation area. As previously mentioned, this project was awarded to Alta Planning and their subcontractors, Place LLC, and design kicked off in October 2023. Since then, we have worked with Alta and Place to complete the community engagement and outreach efforts. We've collected a lot of data, identified and mapped existing conditions, established and met with technical advisory committees and a stakeholder advisory committee. We've determined alternate route options and ultimately established a preferred route option for this loop trail. The next step for this is to begin a multi-step design process of this trail. To continue advancing the Forest Grove Loop Trail project, a request for proposal still needs to be written and a solicitation completed for council to do the work. Aside from the progress made towards accomplishing specifically the 2025 City Council goals and objectives, as well as the 2040 Vision Plan, Parks and Recreation Department had many other notable accomplishments to highlight in 2025 report. So among those is in 2025, over $13,000 in financial assistance has been awarded through our Fund for All Fund financial assistance program. We continue to share the program information with the public and work with the school district directly with their guidance counselors to identify participants in specific need of financial support, which has helped us connect directly to participants, namely youth and students that might not have otherwise approached Parks and Recreation. We've also done a large pool tile project. So the original pool tile from 1968 along the perimeter of the main pool, the competition pool, was replaced and the concrete gutter system was built. During the required 3-month closure to address this project, several other maintenance and repair projects were also completed. Some pipes in the basement were replaced. The lobby got a refresh with new paint, benches, flooring, interactive tile boards, book nook, water fill station. All these things were added to the lobby. So if you haven't been there, go check it out. It's looking real sharp. Through the approved funding of additional lifeguard hours this last budget cycle, an investment has been made in expanding lifeguard skills and their training to meet current national standards. Staff has responded very favorably to this training, and we are building confidence in their ability to successfully provide aid if needed. The action taken to elevate and fund expanded staff training hours is a demonstration to the community of the city's commitment to ensuring that staff, patrons ultimately, that their safety is a top priority. Some other accomplishments and goals that we've completed is Knox Ridge Park has been completed. The renovation opportunities for play have been expanded there. Irrigation and drainage were previously a huge concern. It would pool basically down there in the middle of the park there. That has now been addressed. And Knox Park is one of 2 parks in our system that has gone through this type of renovation for play and expansion to become universally accessible, barrier-free. The recent addition of large housing developments adjacent to Thatcher Park has prompted a need for to mitigate fire risk within the forested area near that new development. So the overall forest health is being addressed specifically by the removal of fire fuels in that area. And things like non-native and invasive plants and trailing ivy that is suffocating on the trees, creating ladder fuels in the area. Process of that ivy removal is still underway. And once it is completed, the replanting of native plants will take place with the assistance of student clubs from Pacific University and Forest Grove School District. Trail access and development is still underway in that area and will continue to progress during the project. With recreation programs, as is near and dear to my heart. We've had some great expansions this year in both youth and adult recreation in our summer season. We've seen an increase in attendance in our existing programs, and we've had an addition to our summer lineup. Things included our aqua camp, toddler playtime, and seen here our adult pickleball league. And this is just half of them. We had 32 over the entire summer for 7 weeks, and it was very fun. Expansions to existing programs we're seeing. Camp Grove, kind of our flagship summer program, has seen an addition of 2 weeks. And we've added a youth pickleball summer clinic that was typically otherwise just a summer program. Community events have also seen a new addition and expansion over the years. The first ever summer kickoff event happened this spring. It was well attended, free community event held at Rogers Park in the spring to promote summer programs and to build excitement going into that summer season. We also had Park Flicks, was another well attended free community event. I think I saw some of you at least one of them. We had 3 movies showing at different varying parks. One seen here at Lincoln Park. We hope to continue those and expand further. So looking towards the future for the department as a whole, our top priorities in 2026 is to include the pool deck and locker room renovation at the Aquatic Center, construction of Eastside Park, secure a consultant and begin the process of updating the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan, also known as PROST, to continue to expand adult recreation programming, year-round recreation programming, and to complete the cost recovery plan and create a short and long-term plan to address parks maintenance and staff challenges. It's been a really great year. We've got a lot of great things ahead of us. And at this time, I'd like to invite any comments, questions, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Cody, for doing this. I'm not going to really put you on the hot seat because you're filling in for Ann, but I just want the whole council to know you, and I'm going to hype you up because Cody organized the whole summer kickoff party that was held, I think it was like the first weekend in May at Rogers Park. And he does just really a good job of bringing people together from other organizations. Like he has a really good partnership with Lauren and Henry and has a good presence there. And then he had, Tom bring out all the fun toys and the kids could like sit on the mowers and like, that was just such a good event. And that was all done by you. And so I just want to say thank you. And I hope there's more to come. And you just do a really good job of bringing people together. You're really approachable. And every year, more and more people are using recreation. And you are to thank for that. So good job. Keep it up. Sorry. Any other questions? Okay, you're out of the hot seat, Cody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for filling in and thank you for staying late. Okay, our last department update is from Chief Gearing on fire services, fire department update.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening.
Thank you. No, Chief Gearing's been here all night and he was like last on the docket. So thank you for being patient.
Last, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's what they say. You be the judge.
I'm like, no one's arguing with you. And Henry and Cody are both sitting there. So we're going to go with it.
All right, let's go ahead and next slide, please. So the purpose tonight is to talk about the 2025 goals and objectives, vision plan, accomplishments, priorities, and then some questions if you like. Next. Go back. Let's go back a couple to the purpose. Yep. All right. We're going to brief the council on fire department goals, objectives, accomplishments, and priorities to help inform council's annual retreat next month. Next slide. There are 2 goals and objectives for this year. One is to conduct a fire station location needs analysis, and the other 2 prioritize staffing and equipment for public safety through workload analysis. The goal statement is community growth, and our 2040 actions are to conduct a fire station needs analysis, deploy a second fire emergency response vehicle to meet the needs of increased calls, prioritize staffing and equipment for public safety through workload analysis, explore expansion of community volunteer support functions for public safety, update the city's emergency preparedness plan in coordination with regional planning efforts, and then continue to partner with other districts and agencies to improve public safety services and responses. All right, these are the accomplishments that pertain to this year's goals and objectives. The first goal is to conduct a fire station location needs analysis. And what we did first a few months ago was to consider whether or not we wanted to hire a consultant or just purchase the software to conduct the study internally. And in discussions with the city manager, we landed on purchasing the software. So we've procured the ADAM, which is the Apparatus Deployment Analysis Module from Deccan. The cost was $17,500, and that'll give us the software for 1 year. The cost is shared 50-50 with the rural district. On October 29th, we were assigned a Deccan project manager, and then this morning we met with that manager to take our first steps into the project. Okay, next slide. This next accomplishment pertains to prioritizing staffing and equipment for public safety through workload analysis, or what we're referring to as dashboards. We've acquired First Watch software to better capture, analyze, and report department data. We're going to focus the analysis on response time thresholds that are based on local fire department standards and national industry standards such as NFPA 1710. We're going to utilize the dashboards to show department response times using two methods. The first one, average response times to compare before and after levee improvements, and the second to show response times at the 90th percentile to compare response time capability against industry standards. On a 724 basis, we'll utilize the real-time internal dashboards to inform our firefighters of their turnout time and response time threshold compliance. So on this last bullet, what we've done is we've purchased some TV monitors, and we're going to mount those monitors in the firefighter's office and upstairs in the TV room where the kitchen is. And we're going to show real-time 724 data and show our firefighters what they're accomplishing every day. They'll get to see what their actual performance is on their own dashboards. And because of the competitive nature of firefighters, we're going to show the three shifts side by side, and we hope that will sort of instill them to make improvements on their own. Yeah.
Chief, did the firefighters, they're on board with this, like the union? I mean, there's no, it's not tied to evaluation, and there's no fear of, I don't know, maybe putting themselves in dangerous situations to win. I'm just wondering, is this all seen as a positive within the union and the firefighters?
It's a very good question, because sometimes these type of tools can be seen as intrusive.
Yeah.
The light's on and we're watching. And what we've asked our firefighters is to make improvements 1 second at a time. None of this is punitive. We want them to see what they're doing, how they're performing, and they know where they can make improvements, and that's what we're sure that they will do.
Thank you.
So this next slide is sort of a visual on the dashboard that's already up on our city's website. This shows the annual response time averages. On the left column, there are the years showing 22, 23, 24, and then this year to date. The next column shows Code 3 medical, and the last column shows Code 3 fire. The Code 3 calls are the more emergent calls. These are the calls that are responded to with lights and sirens. And for example, the Code 3 medical, there's 25 different types of medical, Code 3 medical calls. Those would include cardiac arrest, chest pain, breathing problems, stroke, trauma, and seizure. And then, as I said, the dashboard shows the Code 3 fire calls. Those are all fires that are responded to with lights and sirens. So a fire that was a bark dust fire would not be included in this dashboard. All right, next slide is the annual incidents and responses by year on the left column. And then, once again, the Code 3 medical, Code 3 fire. Those are the numbers for those particular years. And then in the last two columns, we see the total incidents and total responses. You might be wondering what the difference is. An incident is one call for service, and that one call for service might require multiple responses by different units from Forest Grove. And if there were three units that responded to that incident, it would be one incident, but 3 responses.
Can I ask a real quick question on your last couple slides? The response times. I know we support areas outside of our city limits, and so I was just a little bit curious about whether you didn't display it here, but do you internally sort of track in-city response time versus out-of-city response time, just to kind of understand, why those numbers might change or why they, might increase or decrease?
Thank you for that. We aren't showing it on a dashboard yet, but the First Watch software that we have will do that for us. Okay. And we are interested to see what our response times when we're receiving mutual aid are and what they are when we're providing it to others. And as well, we want to see what the numbers are, how much aid that we're providing and how much that we're receiving.
Thank you.
So we will be tracking that. Okay. Now we'll discuss some of our accomplishments and progress that are not attached to the council goals and objectives for this year. Update the city's emergency preparedness plan in coordination with regional planning efforts. So far, the following draft EOP documents have been created and revised by staff. Those are the City of Forest Grove Emergency Operations Base Plan, the Incident Command System Position Description and Checklists, the Hazard Planning Annex, and the Recovery Annex. And then the documents that are still pending review are the Emergency Service Annex, the Mass Care and Sheltering Annex, and the Critical Infrastructure Annex. Next slide. Deploy a second fire emergency response vehicle to meet the needs of increased calls. So this was, there was some discussion on this during the budget preparation, and there was a decision that had to be made whether or not we were going to fill those 3 positions that are funded by the levy. The positions were originally appropriated for different years, 3 different years. And with the support of the city manager, the decision was made to fund those positions this fiscal year. So we held a recruitment process that opened earlier this year, worked together with our Human Resources Department. We accepted 108 applications. We screened those for qualifications. We interviewed 37 candidates in the first round, 18 candidates in the second round. We conducted backgrounds on 5 final candidates and made job offers shortly after. The Fire Academy began October 6th, and graduation will take place on December 4th. And then once graduation takes place, all 3 shifts will be assigned 7 personnel versus the current 6 personnel that we have. Yeah, that's good news.
Great news.
Then we're going to work within our staffing capabilities and within our budget to maintain 2 emergency response units as often as possible. That's right around the corner. Okay, next, please. This is to explore expansion of community volunteer support functions for public safety. So I wanted to provide this graphic. This is out of a study that the state of Oregon did. The fire chiefs conducted a study, and they focused on the issues that are facing the fire service in the state of Oregon. This is one of them, and it's volunteerism. And this is an issue that is affecting the fire service across the country. It wasn't FEMA, it was NFA, conducted a study as well. And one of their issues across the country, again, is volunteerism. So this graphic shows whether or not out of the number of chiefs that were surveyed, whether they saw changes in volunteerism in their departments. And you can see the 2 large bars that go across, moderately decreased and significantly decreased. That's about just over 70% of a decrease in volunteerism in the state. So providing that graphic just to give the council an idea of how volunteerism has changed across the country, in the state of Oregon, and certainly we've seen it here in our city.
I have a question. It's okay. Has there been a kind of a research done on why the volunteer has decreased. I know it's common everywhere right now.
Yes.
But sometimes there's a reason for that maybe we can work a strategy around.
Yeah, thank you. As I recall reading the study, some of the things that affected volunteerism was just a change in times and a change in priorities. People who work outside of the city where they live, in their community, the cost of living, families, education. Those are a lot of things that hold people back from being able to volunteer like they once used to. And I'm sure there are many other factors, but we've seen it here in Forest Grove locally. Right, so we've done a study on the realities of volunteerism. We determined the need here locally in Forest Grove to right-size our fire department volunteer program. We conducted an internal workshop to determine the needs for a fire department volunteer program, and we came up with 3 distinct needs for our department and for our city. One, first response capability in the rural district and the city. The second is a water tender response capability, and the third, ancillary responses. The third would be non-firefighting. It would be community support through the fire department for activities that the fire department supports throughout the year. We contacted all of our volunteers to assess interest in the program, and then we updated our volunteer roster to reflect current participating members. We have about 15 members currently. All right, the next item is continue to partner with other districts and agencies to improve public safety services and response times. During the summer, we applied for the Oregon State Fire Marshal Capacity Staffing Grant. We were awarded $35,000 to increase staffing on various days throughout the fire season. We continue to work within the existing mutual aid agreement to provide closest unit response via GPS automatic vehicle locator. And we have a draft intergovernmental agreement under review to provide various fire services to the city of Cornelius. Some of those services include fire inspector and PIO duties. Right, next, these are some various accomplishments that we've made throughout the year. Respond to various major fires, including the Palisades Fire in California. Approximately $125,000 in reimbursements from those conflags will be received this fiscal year. We held the annual open house with Light and Power and all the city departments. We can go to the next slide. We have some photos of that event that took place in October. That was well attended, and we had a lot of participation from all of the departments in our city. We appreciate that. Okay, next slide. We'll continue on. We transitioned services formerly provided to the city of Cornelius. We held an internal promotional exam. The Civic Academy participation. We updated our agreement with Pacific University to provide learning experiences for the School of Physical Therapy and Athletic Training. We completed labor contract negotiations, engaged in various school career fairs, and identified gaps in communications, and purchased Starlink to improve connectivity and communication. All right, next is these are some of the more significant fires. The one on the left is the apartment complex near Prime Time. When we arrived on that fire, there were 4 units involved with fire. 4 units. This was an apartment complex, upstairs and downstairs. Very challenging. All right, next. So here's some more accomplishments. Responded to. Oops, already read that. All right, the priorities. These are some of the priorities for 25 and for 26. New fire engine purchase and placement into service. We have our new fire engine. It's almost being done, outfitted. I've been saying that for quite a few weeks now. And we're going to put that into service hopefully this month. We have our eye on November 17th. We'll see how that works out. And we'd like to invite all the council members for a ribbon cutting. We'll let you know when that's going to take place. We're going to surplus truck 4. We have a buyer that is interested, and we're working on plans to bring that the chief from that department to the city of Forest Grove to take a look at the truck and hopefully make the deal. Acquire and place into service Telestaff staffing software. This is a new software that we're interested in buying that's going to help reduce staff hours by letting a computer handle our staffing. Our staffing can be very complex sometimes, and we'll let the computer take care of it. It's a very good software. Standardized training and timed evolutions. This is something that we've been wanting to do for quite some time, and that is underway. And then a new IGA with Cornelius regarding fire prevention and PIO services, which I mentioned just a moment ago. As always, we thank you for your support and entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to make a statement to both chiefs right now. Something like when you showed the pictures of the residents that were on fire, I was like, man, both of you all went through a pretty lengthy list. Sorry, I'm like stuttering my words of all your achievements. And I just want to point out to the whole community and the council that that's in addition to the job you do of keeping us all safe, right? Like your number one job is safety, public safety. And I mean, no, like I'm not trying to throw shade on Parks and Rec or Public Works, but the kind of the different, you mean like their job, like their accomplishments is like what their department like is their priorities. So these things are also in addition. So I just wanted to make that point. And then if both of you could send me like any sort of data on like how many responses, how like, because I think during the State of the City, people want to hear like, hey, they put out this many fires, or they cited this many people for, you know, ordinances, whatever it is. And I also want to say that Chief Gearing did all of these things while supporting a crew that was going through staffing like adjustments, because when Cornelius passed their levy and hired a fire chief, that affected our department because of our IGA and different things. And so he kept everyone together. Morale's really good from what I hear. Like all the stuff is doing really well. So under good leadership, I appreciate it.
Thank you for the support.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on. Did anyone else have questions? No. Okay, we're going to take a quick bio break, if that's okay. Well, it's going to be okay. We're going to take a 5-minute bio break.
You don't ask.
Yeah, I'm just. we're going to reconvene, and we're going to move on to item F1, which is resolution. Oh gosh, I'm seriously having a hard time talking. I'm sorry. Resolution 2025-60, authorizing the city manager to establish a city membership to the Mayor's Innovation Project. Go ahead, Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'll keep this brief. The staff report was in the council packet. The city council does have to review and approve all of the memberships that the city enters into. Once those memberships are approved by the city council, they get worked into the city budget and they stay into the city budget unless the city council would like to discontinue a membership at a future time. This particular membership is for the Mayor's Innovation Project. The council reached a consensus at the last meeting to add this membership to the city budget and become a member of the MIP, or Mayor's Innovation Project. The MIP is a national network that supports local governments through research, peer learning, and technical assistance. They have cohort programs, published policy research, and organizational efforts on a broad range of topics. The fiscal impact is $1,250 per year. There is sufficient funds this year to pay for the membership. During the mid-year reconciliation for the biennial budget, this would be proposed to be added permanently to the budget from this point forward on a per annum basis. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
I have a question and then a statement. Can this go on does staff get a list of professional and development opportunities?
Yes.
Can this be added? Because it's my understanding that as a member city, any staff, mayor or councilor who would like to attend a conference, the cost of the conference is free. Like with our membership, with our yearly membership, the registration fee is waived if you're a member city. And that also includes staff. And so when I went in the summer, they were doing some economic development things. There's like things going on with public safety. So I'm just thinking, if staff can look at that, that's just also a really good opportunity. And they do, for the council and staff, they do a winter meeting, which coincides with the the city and mayor's meeting, but we're not a large enough city to be part of that. And then they do a summer meeting. They're only like 2 days, so they're really doable. Okay, that's my only statement. Any questions for Jesse? What's the wish of the council?
So moved.
Okay, it was moved by Councilor Schimmel and seconded by Councilor Gustafson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say aye. Hearing none. Resolution 2025-60 is approved. 60 is approved by the Forest Grove City Council in a 7-0 vote. Moving on to item F2, which was added tonight to declare an emergency declaration to assist with people experiencing effects of federal immigration activity. I'm going to pass it over to Jesse.
So the last time the city declared an emergency declaration was during COVID. And if my memory serves correctly, during that time, there was a work session about an emergency declaration. And in anticipation of that, staff prepared a draft resolution in the event that the council at the time wanted to take some action that evening about an emergency declaration. Likewise, we have followed suit here. And so we have prepared a draft resolution. I know this has not been reviewed. It was not in the packet. But in the event that the council wanted to add this to the agenda, staff wanted to make sure that we were prepared. Based on the work session that we just had, I asked Mariah to put in the resolution number and also to put in the consensus monetary amount that I understood to be $50,000. The council, of course, can amend this if they would like. This is a draft. It has been reviewed by the city attorney's office. It was in large part patterned after the last emergency declaration that the city did. So a lot of the citations and references such as ORS 401.315, 0.309, Emergency Operations Plan, that was pulled directly from the last resolution that was done, I believe, in 2020. This does follow the Emergency Operations Plan outlined in 1.7.2, which has the properties of an emergency declaration. So you'll see that this tries to follow that outline as best as possible. The one thing about considering this is if the council would like to pass it, It does need to be read in its entirety because it is essentially walking on an amendment. And an amendment does need to be read in its entirety to make sure that there is full understanding by the council body prior to a vote. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. If there's, however you'd like to go through it, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if we need to, I can also reach out to the city attorney and have them join us. They have reviewed this document, however.
Okay, so a couple questions. Okay, I'll just ask a question. When is it read in its entirety?
When we read the
Right, I have
resolution, very similar to when I read the title of the resolution, it would be read in its entirety at that point.
And you would read it, or would the mayor
I
read it?
think either myself or Mariah would read it just as I would normally read the resolution. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I've read the first page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor,
Okay, so I'll stop. Okay, stay on that because I was in the middle of reading. Go ahead.
I was just after former Mayor Truax mentioned public testimony.
Let's wait and have that during discussion. Do you have a question about it, or?
My question would be, is that something that we want to move towards? But if you want to wait for discussion, that's fine.
I think we should wait for discussion because that's when we can like discuss let's get a second. Let's just keep it in.
So I guess the only other things I would mention while the council is reading through that is the council can amend this resolution at any time. It can be extended if the council would like. Currently, it expires December 31st, 2025. The COVID resolution that we passed earlier was, I believe, for a month for the expenditure of resources, and then it eventually got extended by the council. Thank you, Mayor.
So if we extended it, would it just be how would just have consensus to bring that back?
Yeah,
Right
just
now
have
it's
consensus, and then you just amend it to a time specific. It does require in the emergency operations plan to have a time period that the resolution will be effective. So,
Right now it expires.
at the end of the year, if
Okay,
council would
thank
like
you,
to put in a
Mariah.
different date, they certainly can. It was tied mostly to the expenditure of the resources, the thought being the resources would be expended by that time.
Okay, and then we might need to reallocate
then,
or do
yeah.
whatever. Okay. More questions, Councilor Faulkner? Do you? No, you're good.
Well,
Councilor Schimmel.
yeah, well, I actually appreciate that the language would give you some latitude. Is there anything, does what we discussed earlier give you the outlines of where you would put the money, or do you need any more information than that?
I think this resolution states to support community-based organization providing services in Forest Grove to those impacted by federal immigration activities. If the council would like to kind of change the scope, the way that staff would read that would be those CBOs that are providing support activities, whether it be wraparound services, rapid response, potentially food assistance, rent assistance, those types of services that would be utilized by those families that would be impacted by some of the recent enforcement actions.
To follow up that question, what's the mechanism that the council has to discuss who that goes to, and then how do we protect? I guess my concern is I don't necessarily want everyone to know exactly who we're giving the money to. If it puts them at risk of not being able to help the community they're helping.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
So this would authorize.
Well, how else to say it?
Maybe I can. This would authorize.
I don't want to specifically name organizations.
Okay. Yeah. This would authorize the city to enter into a contract with any community-based organization that would provide those services. So.
Right. Okay. No, and let me unpack a little bit more. How do we? Because it has to be a decision based on. It has to be a council-based decision on who's getting the money, or is it going to be city staff?
I think that'd be left to the city manager. That'd be left under this resolution. Whoever gets the money would be left up to the city manager.
Okay, cool. That's great. Thanks. Councilor Gustafson.
Mayor, I just want to confirm I understand what you said. So you're concerned about people knowing where that money is going to for safety reasons. Is that what you said? I want to make sure I understood what you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something we can do because it's public domain, right? Where
Well,
they can.
I think that's what I don't know. Good question. That's for Jesse. I don't know if I
I
can
mean,
answer
the
that.
transparency people expect, especially with their money that they're, their tax money.
I know, but it's community-based organizations. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm leaving it to Jesse.
So under the emergency declaration, I think the way staff would approach this would be to reach out to some of the community-based organizations that are providing services, whether it be food, rental assistance, rapid response, wraparound assistance for those affected families. We would engage in conversations with them about what types of services they provide. I think we would try to take what I would kind of characterize as a pretty broad approach in terms of trying to make sure that the money is allocated in the best manner possible to have the most beneficial and positive impact for those folks that are affected. It may go to multiple organizations, likely to provide a kind of a broad array of services that are needed. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing organizations that are responding to actions that are being taken, and they're responding first, and then, if you will, the money part is following later, and that money part is starting to become more acute, if you will, now, and become more evident, and so this assistance would go to those organizations that are in need of financial assistance to continue providing those services that we just mentioned.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
It didn't. Basically, I was wondering if we could keep that private where those funds are going. I don't think we can, but
I
I'm
don't
just
believe
asking
that we
the question.
can. I believe that anytime we do any kind of financial transaction that is a public, we would likely enter into some form of professional services agreement. It could be a truncated agreement that would explain what services would be done. Essentially, it's a grant, if you will.
Mhm.
So.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And maybe also an observation or a point. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like, yes, of course, anytime, we do a transaction, it's a matter of public record.
Yeah.
We don't put every $50,000 payment in a resolution that goes up on our website. We
Correct.
contract for all sorts
Oh,
of
correct.
things that are
Yeah.
under your
Sure.
discretion.
Sure.
For example, the people who clean this building every night.
Sure.
There's
Mhm.
yeah, if somebody wanted that information, they'd be able to request it
not
from
like-
public record,
Yeah.
but we're not broadcasting.
You have to reach out
I
for
don't-
it.
I don't-
Yeah.
I don't
That's-
know that we
that's
would
the-
necessarily broadcast it, but it's
Right.
public
We don't
information.
need to put it in a resolution.
No.
We give you the authority to
Yeah,
spend
that's
money
what I'm
all the
saying.
time
Exactly.
without putting it into a resolution.
Yeah, correct. This just authorizes the expenditure of funds for those types of services. We don't have to necessarily say in the resolution who it goes to.
Mhm.
No.
Mhm.
And we're good.
No.
Everyone's good with that. Thank you. Okay, so is there a motion? Is there is there any questions for staff? Any further questions? Okay, what's the wish of the council?
So moved.
I'll second.
Wait, sorry, 1 minute. I know who moved in and seconded. But can you scroll down so I can get the resolution number, Mariah? Sorry, I just need 2025-61. Okay, resolution 2025-61 was moved by Counselor Schimmel, seconded by Counselor Falconer. Discussion. You wanted to discuss the public.
Yeah. Do we need public testimony for this?
So this is my feeling, because he did say that, and I wanted to push back like right then, but I didn't.
Mhm.
We did, when it's a state of, I thought it was a little bit interesting. I have like 2 points to bring up about it. During COVID, the last time the city of Forest Grove did a state of emergency, we did not have a public hearing about it. Granted, it was a little bit different, but we did not. Secondly, I think that we received a lot of public testimony today, and I did not hear, and I heard it in support of action, of helping people, of doing similar things in written testimony and in speaking. A public hearing is something we can choose to do if the council wishes to do that. For me, myself, I think Council President Valenzuela said it during the work session. She said, if this is an emergency, we need to move on it tonight. Councilor Falconer.
We are having a hearing right
Okay.
This
And
is a
that's
public
what I
hearing.
was-
We
that's what I
added
was wondering.
this to the agenda as a public hearing. So I sort of want to push back against the notion that we're not having a public hearing. That's actually what we're doing right now.
So officially, we can just say, because I totally agree with you, I just want to officially say that I feel also that we just had public testimony. Okay. I just wanted that to be on the record.
And we made it very clear tonight.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
On the agenda tonight. And
I personally just wanted it on the record like this. I agree with everything you guys said. I just wanted to voice it.
Right. The other thing I wanted to point out too, because I think that Mr. Feek, said, hey, I want to just point out that this money, this $50,000 is also coming from our contingency. It's coming from our savings account. So we also agree with the importance, and this is also a statement. I think he made in his testimony that the Board of Commissioners feel strongly about this because even in their budget woes, and I heard all about them today in my meeting, they, reached into their savings to pay for this. And I want to say we're doing the same thing, with a balanced budget. So, so if people are wondering, like, this is I shouldn't say all, but people have emergency savings accounts in case something like this happens. And so this money will not affect public safety. It will not take money out of recreation. The cost of recreation will not increase because we're helping other community members by using our savings account. So I want to be really clear with that during this discussion point as well. Okay, any other discussion items? Go, you want to say something?
No, but thank you for that statement to make it clear for everyone.
Yeah. You good?
No, I guess I just want to share real quick. I think, we heard from so many community members tonight who are both directly and personally affected and folks who maybe aren't. But, the meeting that the informational session that we went to last week, indicated that these numbers are increasing at a rate that we've never seen before. And this is unprecedented. And I personally know a family that's been impacted for many months now. And I would never, I think she probably would count herself lucky and blessed because now she has been reunited with her children. But two of my very best friends became the guardians of 4 U.S. citizen children and have been caring for them for months, while their mom was unconstitutionally detained, held without charges, legally here, documented, allowed to work. And so the notion that I didn't hear tonight, thank goodness, but in the community, I'm hearing comments like, that we've all heard. It's gross. And it's also misinformed. That constitutional rights are being violated, and most of the people who are being impacted don't necessarily have the resources to be able to fight in court the way that my friend was able to fight because of the resources that she was connected to, that she had the foresight to reach out and have that guardianship in place just in case something like this were to happen. And so I'm really glad that we are doing something tonight, because there are so many people in our community who would not be able to fight that fight for 4 months, and their kids would be abandoned. I can't even imagine. With food insecurity, with housing insecurity, and then also this. So thank you all very much for the constructive conversation that we had earlier, and also for this now.
Thank you for sharing. Councilor Schimmel.
I just wanted to, just in the presence of colleagues, suggest a conversation about these funds with Suzanne West, the school district, who, as I learn more about the school activation, they're providing housing assistance, utility, food, among other things. So they've effectively become their own community action, because community action doesn't have the resources when called. So that's just a consideration as far as activating the money local. If there's no objection to that outlay.
I don't think it.
I think that
I don't think it. There's no.
kids are first, and they are the most vulnerable right now. And I think the school district doing everything it can. Yet, I would totally support for this purpose to help this family.
Okay, any other discussion? We're going to do a roll call vote on this. Please. Oh, wait, nope.
Yeah, I need to
Sorry,
read
skip
it out
something.
loud.
You need to read it by title only and the complete resolution. Will the city manager please read the entire thing, and we'll be keeping track of your mistakes.
You could scroll down a little bit, please, Mariah. Oh, the other direction, sorry.
Down for us to see the title and
The other way.
the other way. You got to start at the very beginning, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Resolution number 2025-61, resolution declaring a state of emergency to address community impacts of federal immigration enforcement. Whereas the City of Forest Grove Emergency Operations Plan adopted by Ordinance 2010-06 pursuant to authority granted by ORS Chapter 401 authorizes the City Council to declare the state of emergency exists within the city limits, and whereas under ORS 401.309 and the City of Forest Grove Emergency Operations Plan Section 1.7.2, the declaration of a state of emergency is necessary to protect the public and property consistent with local, state, and federal law, and to ensure the City of Forest Grove has the appropriate resources to respond to the emergency. And whereas increased immigration enforcement within Forest Grove has caused residents to fear leaving their homes to go to work, school, access city services, take public transportation, attend medical appointments, and other necessary daily activities. And whereas recent data from the state of Oregon shows a significant impact to immigrants' health and well-being due to fear and being targeted and or detained. And whereas the foregoing circumstances constitute a significant effect on the health and well-being of the community, which provides cause to necessitate assistance from the city to alleviate the loss, hardship, or suffering resulting from such activity. And whereas ORS 401.315 and the Forest Grove Emergency Operations Plan, Section 1.7.1, provide that the city may redirect efforts and resources, enter into contracts, and incur obligations necessary to mitigate, prepare for, or respond to an emergency. Whereas the Washington County Board of Commissioners declared a state of emergency regarding federal immigration enforcement on November 4th, 2025. And whereas the foregoing circumstances affect all the territory within the city limits, and whereas the foregoing circumstances are anticipated to remain in effect at least until December 31st, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Forest Grove as follows. Section 1, the City Council hereby declares a state of emergency now exists in the City of Forest Grove, Oregon, encompassing all the area within the city limits, effective on this 10th day of November 2025. Section 2, the city manager is hereby authorized to take such lawful actions as necessary to minimize or mitigate the effect of the emergency in a manner consistent with the Forest Grove Emergency Operations Plan and all applicable laws. And Section 3, Section 3, the city manager is further granted the authority to allocate funds and authorize expenditures under this emergency declaration in an amount up to $50,000 to support community-based organizations providing services in Forest Grove to those impacted by federal immigration activities. Section 4, the city shall take all necessary steps authorized and permitted by law to coordinate response and recovery from this emergency, including but not limited to requesting assistance from the county and state agencies as were available. Section 5, the emergency procurements of goods and services are hereby authorized pursuant to ORS 279B.080, ORS 279C.3356, ORS 279.3804, and other applicable laws. Section 6, this declaration of emergency is effective immediately and shall expire December 31st, 2025. Section 7, as required under ORS 401.165, the city manager is hereby authorized to submit a declaration request to Washington County in compliance with Forest Grove Emergency Operations Plan, Section 1.7.2, presented this 10th day of November, 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Falconer?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Marshall?
Yes.
Counselor Gustafson?
Yes.
Council President Valenzuela?
Yes.
Counselor Schimmel?
Yes.
Mayor Wenzel?
Yes. The Forest Grove City Council approves Resolution 2025-61 in a vote of 7-0. Thank you, everybody. Before we go on, it's in our part of our rules that it's 9:30. We usually have a stop time of 9:30. Is there consensus from the council to continue with the meeting to complete our executive session?
Yeah.
I'm saying yes. Okay. That's fine. Okay, cool. So item G is council communications. If you don't, I don't want to like stifle anyone. So if you don't have too much to report, you can just say pass. If you really would like to report, then give your report. Okay. So we'll start with Council President Valenzuela.
Thank you. And no, I have had no meetings, but I want to say thank you for those who attended the gathering of the groups yesterday. I know it was Sunday. Thank you so much for being there. It was wonderful. Go by the library to look at the donor that we unveiled, the donor recognition. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Councilor Faulkner.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Councilor Gustafson.
Nothing to report. And I just want to say thank you for everyone. I know this is extremely difficult, more so for others who are more impacted, but I really appreciate everybody coordinating and collaborating on this. It's make me very proud of this council.
Thank you. Councilor Marshall.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Schimmel. Okay, city manager report.
Friendly reminder that the retreat is December 1st, and I want to thank the directors for bumping up all of their reports and doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, really quick, we talked about students' delegation to NLC this March. And so we're going to announce the availability and process tomorrow, or not tomorrow, probably on the 12th. All month written recommendations, essays, and applications will be due. The deadline is December 31st, and then the council's student delegation selection will take place probably during, maybe I don't know, we'll figure that out, but it'll be maybe during a council meeting. The city manager will designate the youth chaperones. Right now, there's a spot for 3 and a chaperone, but I guess I'm asking if it's okay with the council, because we would pay for the chaperone, and then there would be 3 students. But if I act as their chaperone, we can take 4 students, and then it's 2 and 2, which makes me feel a little bit better. I feel like a trio sometimes, one person gets left out. And then we can just get another student anyway. I don't know how the council feels about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council was after we did the resolution, so they're also going to be included as allowed to apply. Is that also okay with? Okay, is there anything else I need to get consensus for before we move?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's all I'm going to report on. So I need to read this before I adjourn the meeting. Like Ashley told me this a while ago. So, okay, we're going to have an executive session immediately following this meeting. Executive sessions are closed to the public. No formal decisions or actions will be taken. News media representatives may attend, but may not disclose information discussed. News media can request a link to attend via Zoom by emailing mWoods@forestgrove-or.gov. The City Council will convene to hold executive session ORS 1926602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated to negotiate real property transactions. Okay, so immediately following this meeting, I would like us to meet in the conference room. Thank you, and the City Council meeting is adjourned. I'm going to leave my stuff up here. You're all like neat and